Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, August 6, 2019. It is 7:40 p.m. I apologize for the late start. John, will you lead us in prayer?
Rise, bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening as your humble servants. We ask that you watch over these proceedings and bless us with your divine guidance and your unparalleled wisdom. Help this council to always engage in meaningful discussion and remind us to be thoughtful and compassionate in our decisions as the choices we make and the actions that we take affect the well-being of others. We ask that you bless this great town of West Warwick and the good citizens who live in it. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Jay, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Licciardi?
Here.
Councilman Messier?
Here.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum.
Under section 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A2 of Rhode Island General Laws, the council will be closing the executive session that was held tonight, Tuesday, August 6th, that pertained to A, collective bargaining, IBOP Local 312 for contract negotiations, B, collective bargaining, IAFF Local 1104 for contract negotiations. C, collective bargaining, RI Council 94 Local 2045 for contract negotiations. And item D, litigation Diane Kelsey versus West Warwick et al. KC 2016-0776.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Giant yard sale at Crompton Playground.
Need somebody to move the resolution?
I'll move the resolution.
A second?
Move in second, discussion. Jay, I know you called me on this to give me a little bit of heads up. Would you just want to inform the council? It is
Yes.
in your ward.
Yes, it is. The Historical Society wants to have a yard sale at the Crompton Playground because there is obviously a lot more room there. As far as I know, they submitted an application they went through the proper procedure, they have insurance. I don't know at that point if the clerk's office contacted the Parks Department to see if there was any conflict or any other use at the playground during this time.
The clerk's department ordered to.
Well, the clerk's department, when somebody comes in and applies to use something on town property, wouldn't they reach out to the DPW director or the Parks and Rec foreman and say, do we have anything going on this day? So,
Every time somebody applies, no.
no, when it's on a town property, how often does that happen? Doesn't happen
I
often.
don't think we reached out to find out if it was being used, but we were told it wasn't being used.
All right, because I got a call and it's in my ward, so I was more looking at, all right, what's the procedure with this? It should be something pretty basic, where somebody from Joe Q homeowner comes in and I could be wrong, but Joe Q homeowner comes in and applies for a yard sale permit. It's either approved or denied. Someone using town property is a little bit different, but I would think it would be the same thing as they come in. I'm group X, Y, and Z. I'm a private organization, or at this point, a part of the town. They come in with insurance, and just like somebody wanted to use the skate park, they come in with insurance. If they don't have it, they can't use it. You have insurance, and at that point, all you need to check is to see if somebody's using that facility. Could be the same thing as done with Little League or girls softball or any other group that wants to come in. It's just basically seeing if the place is available.
We were told there was insurance.
Okay.
We were told by the person who applied, we did ask because it was town property, and, is that you? And,
Yes.
and last year we gave the permit, we had an address, and it was the address of the historic preservation, and we gave it to them. This year it was to the town property, and we knew we had, do we need police detail, do we need, and we discussed that at length, I believe, with Paula did with you. And what would be-
Rachel, I believe it was, that I spoke to. I was told that she would be or had checked with the Parks and Recreation. I'm sorry for anyone that doesn't know me. My name's Jan Matthews. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Patuxent Valley Preservation and Historical Society. Just to give you a very quick back history, this is probably at least the fourth time where we were looking to have a yard sale at the Crompton Playgrounds. In the past, we have simply filled out a yard sale permit. It was that simplistic. They did double check, to the best of my knowledge, to be sure there was no conflict with any other groups. And that was it. This time, you know, we've been asked, and I do have a copy of our current insurance that I brought with. In fact, I can give it to you, so that I know I have not filled out any forms. They told me, because this is referred to the town council for some reason this year, that I needed to wait to fill out, because they thought it might be a different form. So the whole process this year has been
A little different.
completely, 100%, yes. And I've been one of the persons in the past, because some of you are aware, because I know you've been very supportive of our plans to try and put an addition. The building there, the former library, that land is also town-owned. So it's really an extension, really, of where the playground is. But we do have our additional insurance.
And I think the confusion was using the address of the Historic Society, and this year using the playground as an address. If you would have used the Historic Society address, it probably would have, even though you used the lawn, and that's the only thing I have, and I spoke to Councilman Licciardi, you're just using the lawn side of it, where all the rides are and the swings, you're not gonna be in that
part of
area.
the playground, we will not be
And
there.
we don't have a problem with that. I mean,
No.
we know what you're trying to do. We've seen it done in the past. And again, I think the confusion was town property versus the address, and that's why it changed.
Okay, because they said, see as how it was going to actually be on the playground property, that was why I needed to do that. 'Cause
Yep.
it is sort of a continuum of.
It is.
It's all town property.
Yeah. Any other comment?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Good luck.
May I ask one question? Do I will need to come and, see, this is, I'm not sure how they're saying that I gave them an address, because I've never filled out any forms whatsoever, and I've been to the town clerk's office twice.
What you said is you got that every year. So we went back last year and we looked at the address. And we realized that you had never, it was Patuxent Historical Society for the fund for that. So we realized we can't, as town clerk, make a decision to use a town playground without the town council. It's not for us to decide, so while we felt pretty sure you're gonna get passed, it has to go through the council, that's all. And now that you can fill that out, and
If
we
you
can
would
take your insurance
this is
form
a
as
copy
well,
showing
we'll take care of that. I'll take care
And,
I'll call you,
all right, but it won't be until the beginning of the week, because I'm heading out to a George show in
I'll
Ohio.
let her know, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ordinance number 2019-5, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, previously tabled. An ordinance amending section 508 and adding section 508.1 of the West Warwick Pension Plan excluding police and fire.
I'll move to take the ordinance off the table.
Well, second.
Moving second, all in favor of moving on the table?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll move the resolution.
That's the one, Nick.
Second.
Al,
Last council meeting.
just hit the power button.
At the last council meeting, you asked me to put it in the form that I submit other ordinances. As far as the content is concerned, I'll turn that over to Al.
Good evening.
Al, I know the last concern I had, and I just want to clarify something, because a lot of us got emails over the weekend saying that we as a council are trying to stop retirees from working in the town.
No.
That's not the case. It's, from what I see from the previous ordinance to now, is you're increasing the dollar amount that they can make and the amount of hours, and also adding in 508-1, that all wages should be reported to the pension board.
We have a question that was brought to us by a town employee about coming back to work after that employee retired. So we looked into that.
We, meaning the pension board.
What's that, please?
We, when you say
as
we,
meaning the pension board,
Okay.
yes. So we looked into it, and as far as we knew, you could do that, because the individual said they told they couldn't, or something to that effect.
What was the situation that brought this up? Because
That
now
was
I
the
see that
question.
police is on here too, and both ordinances have been changed. Police and fire.
Question is about coming back to work after you retire. So we looked into it, and in '02, you could do that. It was all spelled out. And as the ordinances were amended over the years to keep up with things, it appeared that for the municipal or school, or just the school, that was dropped out. So we thought it was just an overlook, a mistake. So
But
we,
is the state different than the town? That's the question I have.
Someone questioned
So-
about, you know, like a substitute teacher, if you were a teacher and you retired, but that's a state pension. Why would that be double dipping?
no, it's for the, I'm not sure if the term's non-certified is correct, but they got like teachers' assistants that will come back and help, because they can't get teachers' assistants to hire to start off with. That's just one example. But it seemed like it was an oversight. It appeared to us that way, that it just got missed in the updating of ordinances with the pension plan and that. So we checked it, and they said it's done by ordinance, so it was suggested that we just make this ordinance suggestion to you to add it in. And while we were doing that discussion, it'd been some years, so we said, well, with inflation to that, we'll increase the amount of money, just to make it
What were you increasing it from?
20,000.
So 20 to
There was
35,
one,
but police and fire 30 to 35.
right. And at the last meeting, you had stated the reason, the difference in the police and that, which we had no history, had no way of knowing.
So the history of that, and actually the gentleman's here in the crowd, a retired police officer, and I hope it doesn't get mad for using his name, but he came before us, Fred Arujo, came before us with the former chief and was showing us the savings with the police and fire, with the police department as a retiree, as the rate they get and as an active gets. It's like a $9 an hour difference. And he was showing, like, when he goes and works in other communities, the amount of money that they're actually generating for the town. And that's why the town council at the time took on that matter and raised it up. And then it even got to the point where it was almost unlimited at one time. Now, we as a council back then did not overlook municipal at 20,000, because we felt that if you look at a municipal employee's pension and a police officer's pension, all right? And I know it's, in one aspect, it's not gonna make any sense, but another aspect was, we didn't want somebody coming back making more than what their pension was, per se.
Right.
So you look at a municipal employee's pension, depending on what year and years of service, so on and so forth, we decided, and I remember Bob Coates was here at the time. He was actually one of the guys, and it was at 20,000, and that's where he would max out, and he'd do summer months only. So at the time, the council didn't overlook that. They just didn't want to increase that dollar amount.
But it's not so much the amount, the 1,020 it was the fact that, from what we could see, somebody that worked for the school department couldn't come back to work for the school department. There was no language at all stating that.
So there's the question I have too. School department, who makes that decision? School committee or town council? Because we don't make any decision for them except for their budget.
David, if I might interrupt,
Yeah.
you're using the figure 20,000. After the last meeting, what happened was I requested a copy of the document as it stands today, and just made the change. What I had for, what I was supplied for non-police was from 30,000 to 35, not 20 to 35. What they gave me to work from was originally $30,000, but they were increasing to 35,000. Now, I don't know anything about it, I just got the document they gave me.
Is this typical in other municipalities? I mean, certainly we have,
I have nothing to do with the pension, other than.
Well, and there's the question I have. Is that a school committee issue where they decided retirees cannot come back to work? Because we, as a council, have never made any decision for the school committee or school department. Their contract is negotiated by them. Their contract is totally different than ours. We don't sign off on their contract, they do. So, in my opinion, did they sign off on that, on their portion of the pension?
But there is people that pay into the pension, retire, do go back to work for this town at the school department. And they're going by 1,000 hours and 1,000 hours, and I think it's 20,000 as a limit, all right? And apparently that's been going right some time. It's just that we noticed that there were language when there was some redrafts and so forth, amendment to the plan over the years from '02 to now. There was no mention about the school department anymore. So we thought it might have been an oversight. So it was said, you just make an ordinance to amend it to put it back in. And that's all this was supposed to be. So it's not to, we just thought, well, are you gonna make the amendment just up the figure? But if up in the figure, when you mentioned something the last meeting, I thought about that after. Yeah, you could get a point where someone's pension, whatever they're making, they could actually make a lot more on that, so that would be an issue. So we hadn't thought of it that way, but that's,
So Al, when somebody retired, can I ask one question?
I stand corrected, it was 20 to 30.
When somebody retires from a position and they're going to collect a pension, and then say a year later, for whatever reason, they're bored, they want to come back, and there's a position open, their pension's still their pension, whatever they're getting. They can't add to their pension if they do come back.
no, it specifically
So-
states that in the plan.
But that would be, if somebody's good,
To savings.
if somebody's really good, whether you're saving or not, if you really want that person and they do a hell of a job, and face it, in some of our departments, we can't get people, why wouldn't you want to take that person back?
We agree. The
And
knowledge
fully
and
knowing that
experience and
this would be the
expertise,
situation.
we agree. It just, like I say, it's good. We don't make that decision as a board. We just noticed that it seemed like the people in the school department, that language was dropped out all of a sudden somewhere along the way. I don't know when or how or why. So, you know,
And
But I don't know
That's
who-
why when it was brought to my attention, I was like, well, we've never made a decision for the school department ever, except for their budget. That's it.
So when you say the school department, are you talking about a former school employee working for the schools again? Or
Yeah.
what do you, or a police officer working for the schools?
Could be
Or-
anything.
Well,
It's more for
Yes,
school versus
exactly.
school to school. Because they do have a tough time getting
and I
substitute teachers, teachers' aides.
And I
and-
believe there are rules in place already, and I wish someone was here that
Well,
could tell us that.
so in other words,
And there are
we're not
limits,
talking
90
about
days or
teachers,
whatever
we're
it is.
talking about say teachers' aides, correct?
Hold on.
Assistants, okay, not teachers,
Not
that's a
teachers.
state pension,
Yes.
they cannot double dip.
Does somebody want to come up from the school?
Oh,
Dave, does
guys,
somebody wanna
guys,
come-
hold on one
Want to
second.
bring somebody up to the school department if they?
Is anybody who wants to come up and speak on this instead of from the crowd? Freddie?
Well,
there has been retired police officers, retired firefighters that have worked for the school department in
absolutely,
different positions over the years.
absolutely.
Good evening, Council. My name is Fernando Arujo. I'm a retired detective sergeant from the West Warwick Police Department. I'm fortunate enough to work details for the town and how it plays out. I retired in 2010. I retired on a Friday, had the weekend off, and I was able to work as a retired police officer. We were able to co-op in the mid-'90s with the surrounding communities. I was fortunate enough that when the police department runs the list, it's exhausted. Outside agency calls for assistance to go into their community. I was able to pick up a West Warwick police cruiser and go to Cranston in 2010, and I did several years of the majority of my work in the city of Cranston. The outside vendors pay our pay. In West Warwick, the W-2 is the mechanism on which we get paid. But we work in outside communities. We get paid by outside vendors. So me as a retiree, and I'm speaking on behalf of the retirees, and we have retirees in the audience, it's a little bit unique. And how it started back in, I got on 1988. The salaries for police officers were, say, roughly $33,000, $34,000. And that $20,000 cap was reasonable for that time frame, considering the figures were pretty equal. But over the years, those numbers were never increased. So I went before the town council, and the president was on the board as well, and other members. And our discussion was, I'm working for outside entities. I'm not getting paid by the taxpayers of West Warwick. I'm not getting paid my salary, and I'm not double dipping. I'm getting paid by these other agencies. I was able to get to the cap relatively quickly as a retiree the second year. I got to it in 6 months. I asked and went before the committee as an amendment. We had the readings. I testified, gave testimony. And at the time, we were shooting for a no cap, but it was agreed upon it was going to be $30,000. So that was an additional $10,000. The following year, 2013, I want to say, once again, I'm outside of West Warwick for the majority of my work. Some shifts are 10 hours, some shifts are 12 hours. I'm not going to get into the figures, but there's fees that the police department makes for the cruiser that's being paid by this outside agency, say, for instance, the gas company. There's fees that they get for us as far as administration fees. And there's an additional fee that the town gets from us as a retiree. So we are a mechanism that actually generates revenue for the town of West Warwick. How do we do that? The police car gets the money, and that benefits the town. And these jobs are outside of the town. So when you start adding up 7, 8 retirees at their hourly rate that the town makes, that's substantial times 5 days a week, times the year. And then you add in the fees that the cruiser makes, which is a piece of equipment. It's a well-known fact in the industry. Everybody charges if a contractor has a piece of equipment at his job site. You're paying for that. Well, we were slow to get to it, but we did get to it, and we do charge for it, and we charge accordingly. That's a big revenue source for the town of West Warwick. Hence, how did we get from 20 to 30? Well, I was the first one to get to that point. It was relatively quickly. Shortly thereafter, Fred Presley, the town manager at the time, had said, hey, Fred, my understanding you already made your cap. What do you think? I said, well, I made my cap in like 6 months. I can still work another 9, 10 months because there's construction out there in other communities. Okay, no cap. No cap for the police. Why the police? Why are we unique? Well, because we're the only ones that can work details. We do not have CSOs. We don't have community service officers. We have active members who retire non-disability in good standings can be on a retiree list that we have. The police department runs it on a nightly basis. The regulars get preference, obviously. Once all the jobs are filled, then they call the retirees on an alphabetical list, spends every night, offer you jobs, we fill those jobs. The reason I'm here is that the municipal and the school, that's nothing to do with me. I'm on here on behalf of myself and the retirees, is that our situation is a little unique because no one can work details. Firefighters can't work details, school teachers can't work details because they're not police officers. Only police officers can work details. Only police officers can co-op outside of West Warwick are retirees. And at the same token, we're not paid for by the taxpayers. We don't collect another pension. The town, in essence, makes money on us on an hourly rate, and they also make money on a cruiser. For instance, 99% of the jobs outside of West Warwick entails taking a police car. So, just a quick example, 10 police officers last week, 2 days in Cranston. That's 20 details. At 8 hours on average, it's quite a bit of money just for those 2 days as an example. And I'm not going to get into the money value, but the bottom line is we are a resource, and to cap us would basically put us out of the ballgame, which means then outside people would come from other communities and come into West Warwick, but we wouldn't be able to come back to West Warwick because they're a cap. That's how the no cap came into play for the police department and the retirees. I have no information on the municipal side. I have no information on the teachers, just that we are a revenue source. It's substantial. I'll certainly talk privately with anyone. We can go over the numbers. And from the town manager, Fred Presley, to me personally, to my face, said, no cap, Fred, get back to work and make us some money. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's gonna be a discussion next.
Hi, my name is Gloria Silvera, and I'm a retired school department employee. And I have since my retirement returned to the school department part-time. And I work under the guidelines of the town pension. And when I was rehired back, it was you had to, you couldn't make more than $20,000 or 1,000 hours. But, and that would be TAs, office workers, custodians. Teachers are under the state pension.
So, let me ask you a question. 1,000 hours and $20,000,
Yes.
which one would you get to first?
Well, I would get to the $20,000.
First, the
Yes.
1,000 hours.
Yes.
Al, so being on the pension board, how many positions would get to the 1,000 hours before getting to the $20,000?
We don't have those figures, we have no idea. Again, like I say.
Because the way you're looking at this, and if I wanted to look at it another way, was 35,000 and 1,000 hours. If you want to put it at $20 an hour, 1,000 hours, that's $20,000. But now 35,000 at 1,000 hours, and that's why I'm trying to see, if you put 1,000 hours in, is it going to be a $35 an hour job, is the question I have.
Can I ask a question?
No, it's not going to be a,
Why is there a cap? Why do we bother, why is there a cap?
Because in previous history, let's just say, if there was no cap, and they can make more than what they're actually making on a pension, so it's.
So what?
In the public size, as taxpayers, they're saying municipal employees are double dipping, and these people taxpayers who are applying for those jobs may not get the jobs because the people who already did their 25, 30 years are getting the jobs. So they're looking, and again, this is beyond my history here. You're going back many, many years, like you said, 1982 or 92, that's way before me.
But does that matter if indeed the most qualified person is being hired for a job, and it happens to be a retiree? We have no pension cost associated. I assume we have no health care associated with it because they have health
That's
care.
right.
Yeah.
So it's a savings to, so it doesn't make sense to me that we would bother putting a cap in. And I would point out that we have municipal employees coming from other cities and towns and don't have a cap. They're collecting a pension in another city or town,
that's right.
but they don't have a cap here. So and again, this is new to me, but I'm just asking, that does not intuitively make sense to me. And then you don't have the bother of, well, we have to raise it and cost of living, and does it matter? I guess
I
that's
would
the
agree,
question.
I would agree. I do wonder, though, if this should go back to school committee.
Oh,
But I also have a question. So if you're a TA, are you assigned to a student?
I'm not a TA, I'm
You're
an
not.
office worker.
Okay. So my question would be, if you're a TA, and again, this is why I think it needs to go back to school committee, and you're working with a student and you reach your max, all of a sudden that kid
Horrible,
has to work with someone else and be
Yeah.
acquainted,
Well-
especially if there's special needs.
horrible. I don't understand the need for a cap. If indeed the most qualified individual is being hired for that position, in essence, it's a savings to
Yes.
the department that's hiring that person. So
But-
I'm missing that.
But as I said earlier, and this was brought to your attention by somebody in the school department, and the issue I have is, we've made 0 decisions for the school department, and all of a sudden now we have to make this one decision. I think the school committee should make this decision.
But only,
But it's a town.
We want to make sure that we're not in violation of the pension.
Absolutely, because if you look at it, it says if you go into violation and you suspend your
That's
pension.
right.
Right, I guess, I would suggest, and so maybe we need to table it once more, I'm sorry to say that, but my recommendation would be that there not be any caps. Again, and police are a little different,
But the school department may disagree with you on that.
that's correct. So let them make that
That's why I
determination,
said let them.
I agree, so maybe we table these and,
This should come before the school committee.
well,
Yeah.
no, but there are two.
Well,
There-
listen,
there are
this
two
could
things.
cover our municipal employees,
Right,
but I don't know how it would cover teachers' assistants, or anything to that aspect, because again, we make 0 decision for them.
My guess
They
is-
may
Right,
not like
right.
this idea.
my guess is they would.
Pension is through the town.
Right.
It is.
Right.
So my guess is
Absolutely.
they're gonna look to us, I don't know that, but they would look to us, and I assume that, Ernie, do they ever reach out to you to ask about what the rules are when they're going to hire someone?
No,
They don't.
no discussion.
We
So-
have,
so-
we don't have any hiring ability.
No,
We don't-
I.
They do all the hiring, they
I-
do everything.
Can I clarify?
Just come on up to the
Sorry,
microphone.
just
Yes.
for the just for the TAs. All right.
Just state your name and address for the
Hi.
record.
Ann Truvy. Hi, I'm a teacher assistant. I am not retired yet. However, when our retired teacher assistants come back to work, they're not technically, well, I mean, they're hired to come back, but they're not going to make more than $35,000. We don't make that much money. How are they going to make it?
Right.
So
Again, a cap in general, I just don't,
Right.
it doesn't make sense.
they're
that we would-
subbing. They're not like,
But a
they're not
long-term sub,
hired.
as John pointed out, a long-term sub, that you have a TA is working with a particular student, and
oh, that happens all the time.
and you get cut off. If you
Yeah.
ever got cut off, that'd be horrible.
That happens.
It's awful for the student.
That's correct.
It is.
Okay. But I would agree.
And then you gotta hire somebody else anyway, right?
We need to.
What?
consult
And then
with
you'd have to hire somebody else anyway,
Right.
right?
Right.
You have to try to find somebody
Yeah,
else,
so
and
that
that could be
doesn't- yeah.
that could be a different person every day of the week.
Yeah, it doesn't make
So,
sense.
so I think, I agree with you, David, we need to.
It's a
consult-
safety issue for the children.
I agree.
consult
Bottom
with
line.
the
I don't
school-
disagree with that.
The school department, but I personally would say not to bother with caps at all. Most qualified persons hired, they're hired. That would be my.
We don't make that much money. They're not going to cap at 35. Believe me, we don't make.
So why even bother having that in there?
Right.
As a,
I mean, if you can go above 20, that would be great because
Well-
some of them do work every day. They can't find people to work.
and I think that's right. So why handcuff anybody in getting the best qualified person to be there?
Thank you.
I would actually say that we should table these, unfortunately, until we do confer with the school committee. I apologize for that, but I guess I would make a motion to table.
I'll
Second.
second.
Both,
Well, we'll do this for them, we have to do.
Can I say,
yes.
Al?
again, the amount of money or the hours wasn't what we were concerned with. We just noticed that there was no, all of a sudden, there was no mention about the school department in there. And those people that, like Gloria, and that, they.
Oh, I can't hear you. Can you speak?
Like Gloria, they pay into the pension system, okay? So now when they retire, they can come back. And so the rules apply to them, and it talks about that, but it's just all of a sudden, there was no language about school department, that's all. Who made that decision there, or how it got dropped out, I don't know. My understanding, the way it was explained to me
Is
is,
it in their contract
it's
or
all done
anything?
through ordinances. The changes in the plan and that, it's all done through ordinances. So from '02 to now, somewhere, I don't know exactly, so if you're gonna table, that's fine. I will dig more, but I don't think the school department makes that decision. I think it's
All right.
still through ordinance.
And just to clarify, this ordinance, like I said, I know I received a couple of phone calls and a text message and a picture saying we're trying to stop
No,
people from working, retirees from working. That is untrue.
oh, I got
Okay, I
this.
just wanna
phone
clarify
calls, it's okay.
that because some of you got the same message that I got. And, with that being said, I think the next time we have this on the agenda, that we should, if we're gonna look at it, at least we should have the superintendent here with
Yeah.
the chairman of the school committee, and maybe they should put it on their agenda just for discussion, to bring it back to us with the recommendation. And if they recommend, then we can vote on it. But again, I don't wanna make a decision for the school department, since we never make a decision for them anyway. We don't know who to hire, we don't do the hiring, we don't do the firing. Like I said, the only thing we do is approve their budget.
They have been following the rules, though. The people that hire, they do report what their earnings are and that, just so that they're in compliance with the plan.
And I think having a report that says what the earnings are, I don't think that's horrible, to be honest with you, but capping it and having to follow
Well,
that and
that's-
pay attention makes,
Again,
unlimited
that's
just
your
makes.
decision by ordinance. That's not.
On the
nothing to do with
municipal
us.
side, I haven't seen that many people retire and come back. And they usually, I mean, on
Can't
the,
wait to get out.
on the school side, I can't say the same. But on the municipal side here, I have never seen, I've only seen maybe 2 come back and work part-time.
I will see if I can get a better history of where, and see if we can nail down where the changes are. Who, I don't know the history of stuff, that's long before
And
me, so.
maybe that's not even necessary, maybe we just talk to the schools and come up with what we want to do going forward. So
Okay.
maybe the history's not that important.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Would the council like me to just put a draft together, removing the cap and sending it just to the council for a work product to go from?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you, Al.
All right, motion to table, all in favor?
I second.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
No action on the next item, Dave?
Again, that's strictly ours. I mean, it's not, it's,
But
so
we
if
probably
you,
want it to be
all right.
together.
All right, we'll take no action on the next item.
Ordinance 2019-7, first reading, sponsored by Council Vice President D'Amico. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick by adding thereto Appendix D entitled Town of West Warwick Comprehensive Plan Update 2019.
Move the resolution.
A second?
Moving second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Move the ordinance.
Second.
It was an ordinance, not a resolution.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Emily Keys Ennis. I'm the Director of Planning for Harriman. Harriman is a lead consultant on your comprehensive plan. I've been asked to make a short presentation tonight about the comprehensive plan, so it's up on the screens and you have it in front of you. Just a quick discussion of what a comprehensive plan, what it does. It's really a guide to local decision making. It acts as a policy document for yourselves, for departments throughout the town. It sets out a vision for what the town can become and sets out goals, policies, and actions that support that vision and help the town realize it over time. Most comprehensive plans have a useful life of about 10 years. The goals, and this is particularly important here in Rhode Island, the goals of the local comprehensive plan must be consistent with state goals. And the state has its own guidance on how to create a comprehensive plan and where the data needs to come from. And this plan was devised and created with that in mind. It also, under Rhode Island state law, helps guide local land use regulations. So that's something else we kept in mind as we move forward. The state of Rhode Island has planning goals. They're listed in front of you. I'm not going to read all of them, but the key thing is in red at the bottom, for those of you who may be able to see it behind, which is the Comprehensive Planning and Land Use Regulation Act requires that municipalities in Rhode Island plan for future development. In other words, you are required to have a comprehensive plan by state law. The town had its own goals for the process, and these were created at the beginning of the process, fed the process all the way through, and ultimately formed the plan you have in front of you. It was to focus on achievable goals. All municipalities have limitations in terms of both financial and staffing resources. So the goals, some plans try and be very, very aspirational. This one was aspirational, but still looking at what the town of West Warwick can do. And the other key piece was to create a document that is relatively brief and easily readable. Many people these days don't have time to look through a comprehensive plan that's, 200-300 pages long. So the standard has been to move to shorter, more visually attractive, but also easily legible plans. So we kept those in mind. We use the existing master plan because you have one already as our base for the recommended goals and policies, and use the public process to gather input on those, see what's still valid and should be brought forward, and see what has already been accomplished. So in looking at the process, we looked at the state's process and their requirements, and the state of Rhode Island has unlike many other states, has, as I mentioned before, a step-by-step guide to how this should happen. The process within West Warwick is twofold. The first was the initial public process, which you had a steering committee, the members I'll show to you in a few minutes. And you also had 3 public forums that tested the goals and the actions people wanted to see over 3 separate nights. You also have the approval process, and that's where we are now. The planning board has recommended this to town council, and it is now in front of you in the first reading. The state format requires the chapters that you see in front of you. They're listed up there. And what we did was we broke down those chapters by public forums so that among the 3 public forums, we addressed each of those chapters. March 15th was what we tried to do is group them in ways that made sense for the discussion. So March 15th, natural resources, recreation, agriculture, services and facilities, and water supply, things that linked well together. April 28th, thinking about historic and cultural resources, and this was 2016, housing, economic development, and transportation. All of those work well together. And then July 12th of 2016, planning for land use and the implementation program. So trying to bring all of the pieces in at once. These were the members of the steering committee. They met multiple times throughout the process and had the opportunity of addressing the draft and coming up with any comments on it. They were extremely helpful. I want to recognize their input and the fact that they were willing to go to extra meetings as well as the public forums to provide that input. And then, as I mentioned, we are now in the approval process. If and when Town Council yourselves adopt the plan as an ordinance, it then goes to the Rhode Island Division of Planning for their final approval of the plan. And after that, it becomes an active plan. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions about the process or plan or take any comments.
Any questions from the council?
I would add, obviously, a couple of things. We received this tonight.
Yes.
So I know that I haven't had, it was on Granicus, I think on Friday, but haven't had a chance to look at it. So how long was the process? You just said 2006. I looked at these dates and I thought, geez, I didn't know these things happened.
Yes.
But they were in 2016.
It was
so 3 years ago.
2016, yes. It was lengthened out. You had some transition at Town Hall during the period of doing the plan, and that lengthened it out. Also, the states already had one review, so they had a period of review. We had public comment. Mark, of course, has been overseeing it on the town side, but there was the public process, then the writing of the plan, some transition at Town Hall, review by the steering committee, review by the state for an initial review, just to make sure that we covered everything, and then coming back in. So that's why the length of the process. We try and, to keep the momentum for public meetings going, we try and concentrate those in a relatively short period of time.
So the work was basically done 3 years ago. Is that what you're saying?
The public process of people talking was done 3 years ago.
Okay.
Ongoing, it's been that period of writing and revision. Mark, I don't know if you want to have any
And
comments.
I guess there'd be a couple of concerns about that's 3 years ago. Have things changed?
We did address some, the state asked us in their review to add some more recent data because of that, and we did do that. So the plan that you received today has more recent data to it.
So a couple of things. I'm not understanding why you only received that today, because it was delivered to the clerk's office over a week ago. But
Okay.
that being said, we've
But
got
it's
the...
dated April of this year, actually. But,
Yeah. Well, so we've got the old plan, which was adopted in 1992. And then under Rhode Island general law, that plan was supposed to be good for 5 years.
And is that every 5 years you're supposed to update?
Every 5 years, but now they've changed the statute, so I
Okay.
believe it's a 20-year plan to be updated every 10 years.
Every 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as you can see, we have the new plan. And one of the things, as we were going through the process, so the process started several years ago. And what we had to do is we had to go through the existing plan. It's a long, protracted process. So I had to go through the existing plan and look at our goals and objectives, what we have achieved, what we haven't, what was still valid, what wasn't. So that was a good part of the process that we did at the beginning. That was done administratively with Emily and myself in that committee. Then from there, we did our public outreach, which was in 16. We had several meetings, public forums, workshops actually, where individuals would come in and we would have maps and we'd have discussions, free-flowing, people writing notes and things like that. Then we took that information in, reviewed that, and then started to write. In the middle of that, our town manager left. The town planner became the interim town manager for 6 months, so we went on a 6-month hiatus.
Okay.
Coming back, went through, completed the plan, completed the writing. Emily and I worked back and forth with some of her staff, and primarily me, writing and writing and writing, wordsmithing, so that you've got what you've got there, I believe, if you look at the old plan and this plan, is a very easily readable, understandable plan. Anyone can pick that up, read it, and understand what it says. The concepts are very basic and easily understood, which is a good thing. so that anyone who reads it can say, hey, I know what that means. We took that plan, we submitted that to the State Division of Planning. They actually linked us up with one of their staff members so that they could review it before you got it. So they, to answer your question, Councilwoman, some of the data was older. So when they reviewed it, we got those comments back to the state, said, here's where we need you to update the data. That was a whole nother several months of Emily and her staff going through and re-looking at and updating the data. So that data is fairly current that you have in there. It's within the last year.
Okay.
So the data is. From that point, once we completed that, we went to the planning board. I think that was 2 months ago or last month? Yeah, so we had the planning board look at it. They've reviewed it. Matter of fact, the chairman of the planning board was one of our active committee members. Ken Townsend from the school committee also, so we've got school input. And then individuals, business people and individuals from around the community who had certain areas of interest. We had environmentalists on there, we had an attorney, we had all kinds of people. Brought it to the planning board, and now they've approved it, and here we are looking for your endorsement. From this point, if the council approves it, it goes to the state for their stamp of approval. They may have some adjustments that may need to be made. We're not really sure. Then it comes back, and it is the plan for the community moving forward. So any land use decision, any ordinance, any capital improvement that the town approves, the town council approves, has to be consistent with that plan. So that's the basis for all decision-making in the town.
It's clear it's a monumental amount of work. There's no question that a great deal of work, and I agree with you, Mark. I've had a chance to look at some of it. Yeah. And don't throw anything at me, but clearly I've not been able to read it.
Oh, you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of my major questions would be, what are the changes from old plan to new plan? Even though the old plan was 92, I'm uncomfortable saying, yes, I approve something when I don't know what the changes are.
It's your prerogative, but I would tell you, Councilwoman, you're not going to be determined. You could probably take this plan and just throw it in the trash barrel. This is a brand-new plan. We can call it an update if we want to.
Well, then even more so.
But basically what we did was we rewrote the plan.
Well, then even more so, I would suggest that we as a council table this item, have an opportunity to look at it and be comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable receiving it today and voting on it to pass it.
That's your prerogative. As I said, it was delivered long before today, Councilwoman, so
well,
It was here at 6
Mark,
o'clock when we came
can I
in.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
So as far as some of the sections within here, like, for example, economic development.
Yes.
This was written, for the most part, 3 years ago, the committee met?
right.
It was written over let's put it this way, over the last 3
So I
years.
guess my question is, things like the Hope Community, are we still considered a Hope Community? Is there a time frame in which that ceases to exist? And also, like the Med Zone, doesn't that expire at some point? Is that still part
No,
of
so
the comprehensive
well,
plan?
if you, a couple of things. So Hope Communities is a new state-implemented
Was that?
plan through Commerce Corp.
Okay.
So there are discussions in here about Commerce Corp and the fact that they have programs that are available to the community. Specifically, it wouldn't be in here because that's a state program. As far as the Med Zone, that is something that the town has enabling legislation for. It has never been enacted. That is in here.
But does that
Specifically,
expire
yes.
at some point?
I don't
does-
think so. I think
it-
once you, the clock
Once you
starts for it.
activate
Trigger, you have
it, once
10
you
years.
activate it, there's a time limit on it. I don't
I think
recall what
it's
it is.
About 10 years, I think.
I don't recall what it is
That's
under
my
the
understanding. I
statute.
just want to make sure that there's not a certain time period.
There is not.
To trigger it.
No time period to trigger its enabling
problem with-
legislation. However, once it's triggered, there is a time limit
Correct,
on
that's
it.
the concern about if you were to trigger the Med Zone and you didn't have the other
Yeah.
tools in
Right,
place to.
right. So I guess another one of my concerns would be, we had public forums 3 years ago. Things have changed. Would there be any reason not to put this document out and have one more public forum for people to comment on it?
It was put out, and we did have a public meeting, a public forum before the planning board. That's what,
Well,
that's what.
I didn't know about it.
No.
Yeah, so, again, and to have that document out for people to be able to look at it.
Yeah, so the-
and comment on it, does that,
Well, I'm not arguing that. So what I'm saying is basically, this is a public hearing here. People can come up and they can talk about it. If you choose to continue that, that's fine. And if people here understanding this now, If they want to come back, if you want to continue this meeting, that's your prerogative. We would have no objection to that. If they want to come back and speak at that point, that would be fine too.
And I assume, is this out on the website? Do people have access to it?
It is on the website, yeah.
It is now on the
Yeah,
website?
Yeah.
Is that true, Marion?
Mary Ann wouldn't put it on the
Oh, you
website.
did? Okay.
Yeah.
Does this is a big packet, does it give us grant opportunities when applying for grants? Because we have something like
Just had a
this.
situation.
Your simple answer to the question is yes, absolutely, 100%. Now, a lot of state grant programs ask,
For that.
is this
Right.
consistent with your comprehensive plan? Is this requested in your comprehensive plan? Is this a capital improvement that is recommended in your comprehensive plan? And you get points for that, so the answer to your question is yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, again, not to believe,
Well, this is a first reading, so if you wanted to pass it tonight, we have a second reading.
I would prefer to table it so we could, that would be my motion to table it and bring it back so we can look at it and if we have
It's
questions.
not time sensitive where we can't give it 2 weeks.
Well,
is
the
it?
last one was 92, so.
Well,
Probably
well,
not.
Mary-
Yes.
so the answer to your question is yes, it's time sensitive, but no, it isn't. Because there's no penalty if we don't
Right.
adopt it. The only penalty is you don't have a plan.
Right.
Well,
So we can
you're,
bring it back
and the
to-
councilwoman's
Well,
correct.
Can I ask you a question?
You may,
I know Josh Barrett, he just had to leave to go to the airport,
yes.
but he had told us that HUD had frozen their
Yep.
They did.
drawdown
That is
because they didn't have a comprehensive plan,
That is
which you
correct.
provided him this. And
Today.
then they were able to draw down the $300-something thousand for the housing here in West Warwick.
That's correct.
So obviously, it does have a big effect.
Right.
But do we see anything else in the future within the next 2 to 4 weeks that could cause us not to have,
And wouldn't you just do the same thing?
well, that's the question.
Yeah.
It's not approved, though.
Yeah, it's not.
I don't see anything in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
So I have a motion to table the.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you very much, a lot of great work. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you.
3 tables, and we're still here an hour.
Ordinance 2019-8, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, an ordinance amending Chapter 2.5, alcoholic beverages, Article 2, licenses, Section 25-24, license applications, and 25-25, license renewal application of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance?
Second.
Moving second, discussion, Al?
This was,
Simple.
this was brought to our attention by Michelle in the clerk's office. What was happening was she let us know that we advertised twice for a renewal. All the other communities advertised once. So the question was, what do we have to do? When I checked the statute and the regulations, they don't even mention renewal. So I called the liquor administrator and I said, what's the story on renewals? He said, the state only issues one license. We do it, we advertise for the initial. We don't bother advertising for the renewals. So because our ordinance said that we would advertise for renewals, but it didn't say how many times, I put in once to continue what we had been doing and to bring us in line with the other communities. And secondly, the state statute says that the authority, the council, has the right to say that the applicants will pay for advertising. That was not in our ordinance. So both for initial license and renewal of license, I just added that in, that the applicants pay for the advertising.
But in practice, they do.
I think
I
they,
know
I think they have been,
Yes.
but
Yes.
it was not in the ordinance, so I just put it in so that if it was questioned where the authority came from, it would be in the ordinance.
Any questions for Al? Any public comment? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
I will pass, I will not vote on it because I do have a liquor license, so,
So you're recusing yourself?
yeah.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2019-9, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, an ordinance amending Chapter 10, licenses and business regulations, Article 14, donation, collection, recycling bins of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Move to second. Al, I cringed when you sent me the email on this one.
What?
I cringed when you sent me the email on this one because
Well, what happened was, I got a call from Paula that the, one of the charitable organizations had applied for their renewal, and she didn't know what to do. Well, when I checked with her, only the charitable organizations have bothered to get their permits. None of the corporate organizations have done so. I met with the town manager, with Nicole, and with Chuck Davy, and we went through it. And basically, because nobody had bothered to apply, we looked at it, we tightened up some language pretty much in the enforcement. We moved the application date to October 31st, since the last one had been ignored. And we wanted to get it so we could go forward with getting the corporate people to apply for the permits. What has been the big complaint, and we think the reason for none of the corporate people have applied, is because of the fee. What happened was, when I presented this initially, we had no knowledge of what the fees were, and it was, I suggested, based on other licenses, $300. That apparently is just out of whack with everybody else. And Nicole did quite a bit of work, which will come up under the next item of the resolution, changing the fees. Because the feeling is that once we change the fees, we will start getting people to come in.
But even if it's out of whack, the fee is the fee, right? I mean, am I wrong? If it's out of whack, so if there's a lot of fees I think are out of whack, I still have to pay them.
Well, the thing was, they were coming in.
All right.
So,
But still.
I mean, Nicole can explain more on the fees. The other thing that is, it gives us the deadline of October 31st. If the council then changes the fee, whether it's the new fee or the 300, give us start to enforce it. It was never bothered.
And what about the one that's up near the Civic Center? That one's been discussed. I've been emailed about that one several times.
That one is the town manager's.
Yeah, we discussed that, and a letter will be going out to the two owners, operators of those bins to have them removed, because they are on public property. And at some point, when there's interest, then we would have to develop some, like a request for proposals for specific sites if they are of interest, so that we can be sure that there's insurance, other requirements, and there's some type of compensation coming in.
And I don't mind
So-
having them there, but I feel like we have to go
No,
through
they're
the process to do it.
Yeah, we've notified one of the owners, and they're pretty much okay with that. And the other one is a larger company, so we'll be sending letters to them, directing them to remove their bins on public property. And then, as they said, later on, once the program's in effect, if the town is approached by vendors saying, oh, you have a nice piece of property, we'd like to place a bin there, then we'd have to go through some type of process so that any vendor could submit a proposal for specific sites, as long as they have insurance and so on. So to answer your question, they will be, the owners will be notified to remove them, and we expect they would remove them. The ones on public property.
So, on the 31st, if they don't pay it, then how do we get rid of them if somebody still has them after the 31st for the other ones?
There's a notice procedure that eventually gets into the court, and it provides, we can take them off. And Nicole checked with DPW that they have the ability to pull them off.
And then what do we do with them? We like, 'cause those are big bins, I don't know where find a scrap?
We can, the ordinance says we can dispose of them.
We can dispose of them once we own them. This is basically to really tighten up the process. So if they're not paying the permits, we can fine them, and at that point, remove the bins. And really, it's to get rid of these. get rid of these bins if they're not complying with our ordinance. Working on getting a curbside recycling, textile recycling program going also. So that is a big project that is in the works,
Like similar to what Coventry is doing right now?
similar to Coventry, yes.
Which I've heard is, I mean, you know more, I heard it's going really well.
Yes, and it would be a revenue maker if it goes well for the town. So that's why we really want to tighten up this ordinance. As far as the fee, we did want to be comparable with the other municipalities in town. So a $300 fee for one textile donation bin compared to $10, $15, and $25.
Is that what they are in
That
other
is it.
communities?
Exactly, yeah. We went with Coventry being, border property with the $25 fee. But now there's really no excuse.
I mean, in the beginning, it was to regulate so we didn't have the messes where people weren't taking care of them. I mean,
Right.
that's how it started. When
Exactly,
feel like
and
we've had,
I
like,
know
50
already, just
meetings
talking with
about it.
Chuck Davy right now, once this goes through with vacant lots and whatnot, we can automatically probably remove almost nine bins, I believe.
After the 31st, so,
Mhm.
okay.
Let me ask you a question, Ernie. You just talked about RFP. Why can't we just go out to RFP now on that? Because we do get a percentage of that, so why wouldn't we go out to RFP now?
Well-
Why would we wait, just remove, because they might get the RFP, they may not, but again, if they don't get it, then tell them, get this stuff out. But, as of right now, somebody's getting, I think it's the school department's getting a 12% of that, donation.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what they're getting. The thought was,
They're not getting anything.
once the program gets implemented, and then, a vendor looks at specific sites in the town property, if it met a criteria that we'd have to establish. And then we would develop a simple RFP requiring, the insurance, all that, and then put that out to a process where all these vendors would be notified, and if they wanted to do that. I mean, that could be done sooner, but the thought was we'd be doing that in conjunction with this whole plan to roll out a strong and enforceable ordinance for these bins. Another item you'll notice is that the first ordinance was solely focused on the operator of the program. This also can focus on the property owner because they also receive compensation for locating a bin on their property. So you have the ability to go after, if you will, noncompliance with a vendor, and you can also go after, through municipal court, noncompliance with the property owner who is generating revenue. So this strengthens the ability to enforce the registration and regulation of these bins so that the problems of the materials being overflowing or inappropriate materials, can be rectified very quickly.
Well, and even for the one in municipal property, if we decide we want to do that, I mean, it's got to be in a spot where there's a camera. I feel like the camera's, the camera's a little farther back. I don't know if I could get it. If somebody's dumping it.
I think in the end,
No, but when in the future, when we decide to put one, I'm saying there might be a different location than
No,
that.
but
that
we're
spot.
trying to get the cameras moved to the playgrounds.
Okay.
I think the answer to David's
Request to
question
put in.
is you got three categories. You got the charitable, which is no problem at all. You got the commercial, which we're talking about here. The other one is strictly the way it's set up in the ordinance. It's strictly a matter of town contracting with somebody for the use of their property. That's an oversimplification, but that's basically what it is.
Any questions, Kyle?
Again, they would have to comply with the registration process, the licensing, and everything else that any other property owner would have to, would receive.
What does this mean in terms of dollars and cents? We're going for 300 per year.
No, your resolution changes that.
Right.
And nobody's paying it, right?
We're getting
Yeah,
zero
nobody's
anyway.
paying
All
it,
right.
right.
We're getting zero right now.
So we're getting zero and we have the bins out there, right? Is that am I
Yeah,
missing this
we-
whole point?
Yeah, we've got bins that people have just been ignoring the ordinance. And we
Okay,
haven't enforced it.
We've been
So-
ignoring the
Yeah, so,
enforcement.
sorry, so what happens though, I'm gonna play devil's advocate, what happens if you have a business in town and they ignore it? What happens to them?
I'm not sure.
Shut them down? Do you get a letter? What happens to the?
I had asked that, after the 31st, I think he said you can remove them.
No,
Yeah.
no, hang on, like right now, it's August, what, 5th, 6th? If there's a business in town, what do you do if they refuse to pay their permit?
Shut them down.
Okay, and why don't, and we've talked about this to death,
Right, that's why
You
I
know.
cringed when it came back up.
so I don't understand why we even giving till October
Well, what is the
31st.
what's
If
the-
nobody's paying the permit
Yeah, you
fee,
make a good point.
right, then get rid of them, because they've been, and we can start with the one right on LaGris Avenue.
We felt that that the reason they weren't paying it was because of the fee, they were ignoring it. We felt that we could get, by putting us in the same financial structure as Coventry, we could get them to come in, register, and control them and regulate them without just going out and arbitrarily having to bring every one of them into the municipal court and then go through the whole process of removing it.
I get what you're saying, I just feel,
Jay,
you
right
know,
now,
we have the liquor stores, right, for example. We went up in the fee with the liquor stores last year, correct? Correct? Am I wrong?
Liquor stores?
The liquor stores that, to sell liquor?
No, tobacco.
Tobacco, I'm sorry, my, tobacco. I've gotten a few calls on that. Why did we go up in the fee with that? They can't pay it, it's too much. So, same thing, I think it's the same thing, comparing apples to apples. These people feel it's too much to pay, I don't wanna pay it, I'm not gonna pay
I
it. So what are we gonna do about it? We're gonna let them go.
I think there is a difference between the rationale behind the tobacco ordinance and this ordinance. This is an ordinance to keep the town clean, and we want those recycling bins in, make some money without having to go through the process of going into the municipal court and getting rid of every one of them. That would be a nightmare, especially for those that are owned by people out of state.
What was the deadline on this previous ordinance? Like, what was, I mean, this one's October 31st. How long ago we dealt this? It was like, maybe
All
before-
of last summer.
Well, it was at
before
least-
the last,
yeah,
before
it
the
was over a
election,
year.
for sure.
It was over a year. Come on, arthritic fingers.
I'm not even opposed to the $25, but, I mean, Jay makes a good point. Like, if people decide the fee is too much and they just don't pay it, I mean,
if I may, the difference with this ordinance, though, is in the language, he actually changed to include the owner of the property and
in
not
the
just
new-
the corporate
in the-
owner.
in the new
Where
ordinance.
before, it was solely on the corporation to come and take responsibility. Now, there's pressure on the owner.
Okay.
So with this ordinance in there in place, Chuck Davy can have a much easier job putting pressure on these businesses
so
at this
31st
point.
comes, somebody doesn't come in.
Now he's got the owner that he can turn to if we're not making any headway with these
So on the
corporations.
31st, if somebody doesn't come forward, what's the steps? They gotta come to municipal court? Is that the first step?
No,
Oh,
there's a notice process.
Chuck Davy has the notice process, so he would start with his letters and the fees.
So how long would you, until you could just remove them, though? I mean, it's probably a long process, right?
No. The process,
Yeah, that's right. I believe it's like within 72 hours. We made it quick.
So you don't have to go.
We
through-
want to put pressure on
So
these
my
people.
question is, so you
Especially if
so you don't have to go through municipal court to get that off after the 31st? That's my question then.
Maybe not. Within 48 hours.
48 hours notice. Upon failure to comply with the removal within 48 hours, then it goes into the town, referred to the municipal court.
All right, then we can scrap it.
Right, and if we decide, that the curbside textile thing is the way we want to go, then maybe getting that pressure to remove these bins to get the curbside is a good thing, so,
That's totally different from what we're talking about.
totally different, yes.
But it does tie into, at the time, removing those, a lot of things don't go into our trash cans. So, I mean, that was a concern
Right.
from you at that point. So
Right.
it does kind of tie in where if we had that.
No matter what, we definitely want to make sure our textiles are
Yeah,
going
so
somewhere.
it does tie together.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Don?
Hi, I'm the bad guy. I own the pink and blue bins in town. My name's Don Mariani. There's one way to make this all go away, is to remove the bins. Remove all the bins in town. I've been speaking with Nicole about curbside recycling, where we mail out a bag to all the residents in West Warwick. We get them to put out the bag with used clothing on the day of their trash and all the recyclables, and we pick it up. The town makes 12 cents a pound. We have 3 local charities in town that'll get a penny a pound per month, and the headaches of the bins go away. As simple as that. As far as the $300 fee, I worked with Al, it was right before the election, on the ordinance. And I helped him, I gave him some pointers on creating the ordinance where you don't put bins in abandoned buildings, you don't put them in apartment complexes because it picks up mattresses and they collect all kind of debris that we don't really want. And as far as I knew, the ordinance did not go into place because of the election was going on, and I didn't know about the ordinance had gone into place and there was a $300 permit fee. It was unbeknownst to me. I never knew about the ordinance going in with a $300. Last I heard was the $300 fee was in the ordinance to be put into place, and then it was, as to best of my knowledge, the ordinance was not put into place, so I didn't. It wasn't like I was neglecting a $300 fee because I thought it was outrageous. I didn't know about it.
I was under the impression that the clerk's office, Nicole gave the clerk's office a list, and I was under the impression that the clerk's office had notified everybody on the list of the ordinance. I don't know whether it happened or not, but that's what, as a matter of fact, I believe, going back that time, I believe I prepared a notice that I gave to the clerk's office to notify this group of people. Now, whether it happened or not, I don't know.
I mean, if everybody, if nobody paid the $300 fee, then that might say that nobody
Well, I'm
knew you
very
had to.
concerned, I'm just going forward, how are they gonna be notified? Do we have a list that you can notify these individuals now?
Don, let me ask you a question. Does that bid make more than $300 a year?
Which one?
Anyone?
West Warwick Civic Center? Yes.
What's on, so let me ask you, be honest, $300, if you knew about it, would you have paid it?
But I have 9 bins in town, and not every bin makes $300.
No,
So
but-
I would have to, yeah, for the West Warwick Civic Center, would I pay $300? Absolutely. Absolutely. Would I pay $300 for,
I'm starting to think nobody was notified.
I was never notified, I know that. I was.
Well, for nobody to pay, that's probably, I mean,
You have 9 other people that did.
they did,
Right.
were,
The charitable.
Oh, the charitable.
Yeah, but the charitable came here as a group at $25, right?
No, there's no fee for
no fee.
No fee, so the charitable paid, they didn't have to pay, but they got their license.
Yeah.
Now, when you say charitable,
The churches all came, but the priest, I know a couple of priests came here,
They testified.
yeah.
well, the churches have a company called St. Vincent de Paul boxes.
Yeah.
The boxes are not St. Vincent de Paul. The boxes are owned by a Lebanese guy named Fawaz, who's in Westboro, Mass, who pays a little bit of money to use their name. So the bin is not St. Vincent de Paul.
The ordinance requires that on their application, they show their exempt status and that the charitable status.
All right, well,
Okay, implementation going forward, the owner and the operator would both be getting all the appropriate correspondence, so that would be done. And again, we can also send that out certified as well as through mail, email, so they all understand what the regulations are and what is expected of them. So going forward, it would be the owner of the land, property, the operator, will be sent out, and we can send them out certified as well. Nicole has a list of a current list of all the operators that we believe are in town.
You brought up a point. Can I ask you, when you just said about get rid of all the bins and send something door to door and people can place, is that, personally, at this point, I'm so sick of talking about these bins. I mean, really, it's just kind of monopolizing, many other things that we have. I'm all for getting rid of the bins.
The way the collection process is
We
going,
have a meeting on Wednesday.
the way the process is going, and it's between Rhode Island and Massachusetts, it's home collections, is because the towns are sick and tired of the bins.
Yeah.
And we're sick and tired of putting the bin there. It's not the bin's fault, it's not our fault, it's the residents in town who want to dump their mattresses and refrigerators and everything else. So we could eliminate that whole issue by eliminating the bins and doing home pickup service. And the towns make 12 cents a pound, which they don't make anything now.
What happens when somebody starts leaving with their pink bag? They leave others, like they leave their toys and stuff.
That's not our issue, though.
But would be, it'd be
That
on the
wouldn't be our
No,
issue.
no, but you
Would
wouldn't pick it up. It would just, I mean, would it cause more of an issue on the municipal side of like all these things being left in the corner?
I don't
Is
wanna-
Coventry having that
I don't
issue?
want to jump the gun because it is a project, we're getting into a whole other thing
Coventry having
before
that
we
issue,
even
though?
started this. Not that I've heard of, because what it would come down to is the municipality would not have to touch a thing.
Yeah, no, I know
Right,
that- I know
so
that.
it is a great thing.
No, it is
So
a good thing. I was
right.
just wondering if that was an issue.
But I don't want to jump the gun because we are going to be
So you're
working on
working, this
this.
is something you're working on, textile curbside,
Yeah,
and.
and that's why I want the
before the
enforcement.
houses.
I want to enforce, yeah.
All right, let's move on.
And one last thing, this is why I want to say about the ordinance, may want to hold off on the ordinance while we talk about this other thing, because the next ordinance you guys may want to put in place is eliminating the bins.
That's what I wanted to do from day one. When I put it on the
Yes.
agenda like 2 years ago.
Let's, I
Table it so
think we should
can-
table it.
Table so we can talk about it again. I make a motion to table this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? More trash talk.
Fees and charges,
Move the resolution.
We should table that also.
Come on,
Yeah,
just
table
take no
that.
action.
Yeah.
no action, okay. Resolution approving bid award 2019-15 for the purchase and installation of a children's fitness park at River Point Park, sponsored by Council President Goslin.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Move in second, discussion. Mark, you wanna come on up? Climb over.
No, but I will.
Again, we received a grant last year, it was $10,000, from the Health and Equity Zone. And is that also a partnership with Thunder Mist?
That is Thunder Mist.
Okay. And they were looking at possibly putting a playground back in, at River Point Park where it used to be. We took it down a few years ago for safety reasons, but one never got put back up. If anybody's been at River Point Park, there's hundreds and hundreds of families that actually attend between soccer, baseball, basketball, and whatever, and their little ones don't really have a place to go. I mean, they can run around the fields, but they don't have actual playground, and it only makes sense to put one back there. And so when the Health Equity Zone came to me, I told them I'm behind it 100%, because they're also looking at another future grant for an addition, not only for children, but for adults, for exercise also. So,
Intergenerational.
for a different generation, how do you want to put that?
Intergenerational.
Intergenerational. Okay, that's a good. So Mark, you want to give us an update?
So basically, the council president summed it up very nicely. Thunder Mist applied and received a grant from the Rhode Island Foundation for $10,000 to be matched by the town in time, labor, and cash. We took the specifications that they wrote the grant for, brought them to the industry, and had them spec out the type of equipment that the grant was written for. So the equipment, the majority of the equipment is handicapped accessible. And
For real this time?
That's handicapped accessible too, Councilman. It is. I know what you're saying, but it actually is.
Even the
It is. I have certification to the effect that engineered mulch is handicapped accessible.
I have a different opinion on that, but we can move on.
Well, it's certified, and I have certification in the file. But the fact of the matter is, it's a $10,000 grant. We went out to bid. We received 2 bids, one for $25,997 from Uniplay from Uxbridge, and one for $32,405 from ProBuilt Designs. And our recommendation is that this council award the bid to Uniplay for the $25,997. $10,000 will come from the grant, And the additional $15,997 will be coming out of our fee in lieu of land dedication fund, which is a restricted fund to be used for recreation and open space in the town.
How much is in that fund, do you know?
I believe, and I don't have an accurate, precise, but I think it's around $50,000 at this point.
Just 50,000 minus the 16.
It'll be, well, if you award that tonight, it would be, yeah, minus that.
Can that be used, I'm getting a little off track here, but the remaining money, what can that be used for?
Recreation and open space. So you can-
Anything, it's very broad.
Well, so it would need authorization, we need authorization from the council.
Right.
But, yeah, it's fairly broad.
Something-
Typically, what it is, the way it's generated is any major land development projects, or when someone builds a condo or a subdivision, it's $2,500 per unit in the development in lieu of open space. So really, it is an open space fund,
Okay.
but it can be used for recreation
Is
and
it
open space.
specific to Ward?
It is not specific for Ward, it's town-wide,
Okay.
yeah.
So if there's a pre-existing playground, could things be added to it?
It could be,
Say like a
or
flat top?
upgraded, or replaced,
Mhm.
yes.
Like trees?
You say trees? Or
Trees.
trees associated
With the
with
playground.
open space or playgrounds, yes.
Any other discussion on that? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Also, I know we just brought this, I wanted to bring this up, but later on, and Mark, I want to sit down and talk to you about possibly dedicating this park, this playground. Would that be any restrictions to that? Okay, thank you.
Minutes of the previous meeting resolved that the minutes of the July 9, 2019 financial town meeting, July 16, 2019 executive session, and July 16, 2019 town council meeting are hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moving second, any discussion? Mary Beth?
Yes, actually, I have two items on the July 16th minutes. Under Q, it says Councilwoman Williamson asked the town manager to reach out to the pension board and let them know that Mrs. Kelsey's 2% COLA should be paid immediately. I actually believe what I said is that the town council is not prohibiting payment of that 2%. I don't believe we have any ability to make them pay that. That's their decision. It's a pension board decision. And under R, regarding the bills that the pension board asked us to pay, these minutes say that a motion was made to pay the town's portion of the bill, seconded by Council Vice President D'Amico. The motion passed. My recollection is it did not pass, and we actually said we would not pay it. So I don't believe that those are correct, but I wanted to make sure that
100% correct on that one. With those two amendments, any other further discussion? Hearing none, I would motion to table that until it's corrected.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Till it's corrected, it'll be on the next agenda.
Consent agenda license application, resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Oh, did you? Sorry. Yes, I'll
somebody?
second.
Councilman Messier recused himself.
I
from
also
the
need to
matter.
recuse myself.
Goodbye.
Who moved it?
He moved
Yeah.
it, but he recused himself, so I need somebody else to do it.
I'll move.
Moved and seconded.
I'll
You
second.
can move it. You just have to-
Yeah.
All right, yeah, all right. So for the record, Councilman Messier and Councilman D'Amico both recused themselves because their business licenses are on here. Any comment? Any public comment on licenses? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, all licenses have been approved.
Consent agenda correspondence. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Amplifier, loudspeaker, and dance live band license. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the following application: Portuguese American Citizens Club, attention Joe Silva, dates 8/30/8/31/9/1/2019, time 8 p.m. to midnight, all 3 nights, location 97 East Main Street.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion, I can't believe it's that time of year already.
I know.
Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Amplifier loudspeaker license. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the following application: Portuguese Holy Ghost Society, attention Dominic Lee, dates 8/30/8/31/9/1 and 9/2/2019, time 7 p.m. to midnight, all 4 nights, location 11 Ventura Street.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Al, just out of curiosity, I know the last night has always been an issue of midnight, the Monday night. Usually it was 11:30. Do you still have a problem with 11:30 on Monday night? Who are you talking to? He's in the crowd. I don't think he can hear me. Dominic. Al, I'm thinking, I was looking at Al Haru for some reason. Dominic, can I come to the mic? I just wanna.
Good evening.
So, every year, usually on the Monday night, the neighbors are concerned over there. I know Mrs. Bausch has always talked to me about it, and the other neighbors, Mrs. Santos, and the one across the street. They usually ask about Monday night around 11:30.
Yeah.
Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
So if we can just do 7 to 11:30 on Monday night, on 9/2. Got that, Marianne?
Yes.
Any other discussion? And you don't have a problem with that, right, Tom?
Thank you.
Thank you for working with everybody. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Cancellation of taxes. Resolved that the attached cancellation in the amount of $5,625.34 presented to the tax collector for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinances is hereby approved. The original list is on file in the office of the tax assessor.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Replacement police headquarters carpet. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the replacement of carpeting in the police department headquarters, administrative offices, and detective division after receiving 3 bids. The lowest bidder was Gino Di Simone Floor Covering of West Warwick. The project will be funded from the following sources: FY 2019 Police Capital, Station Building Repairs, $4,350.
Good evening. This is a project.
Move it.
Sorry.
Second, Chief.
This is a replacement of carpet project that I intended on finishing at the end of last fiscal year, and I delayed it due to the spending freeze. Something I wanted to get first on the agenda to get it replaced. Our administrative office carpet in our detective division that had suffered water damage last year, to replace those carpets. And the low bidder happens to be a local business, and I'm recommending we use them using fiscal 19 money, capital money.
Any questions for the chief?
Yes, first of all, I saw the carpet. Should have been done a while ago. But Chief, will your capital 19 money cover the entire carpet?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions for the chief? Further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution acknowledging and authorizing the proposed AT&T mobility equipment modification on the existing cell tower located at 100 Factory Street.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion?
Do we know what that is?
That's what I was just gonna ask. Who put this on?
Yes, so we received this from Unisom or American Tower right now, okay? And so it's a request to do modifications to the Factory Street Tower for AT&T to improve their services. It's part of the agreement that we have with them, and they submitted the plans that were stamped by engineers saying that it was safe to do.
So 2005, 2006, right before that election, the existing town council leased that out for $1.3 million, and it was ironic because I've asked for that lease for many years, and you're the only one who found it for me. And you're the new guy, so it's kind of ironic that you had it. So, I mean, they're just acknowledging that AT&T is gonna be doing adding a cell tower to that tower, so.
And I believe we said we wouldn't
we can't-
unreasonably
we can't
withhold.
block it, so.
Right.
Did our engineer look at it? You said
The-
their engineer looked
agreement-
at
The
it?
agreement says that they have to submit plans that are stamped by an engineer, by their engineers. I didn't, our Director of Communications looked at it, he's not an engineer, but, you know.
Should
he
we
didn't
have,
seem-
I don't want to stop progress, but just to dot our i's and cross our t's, should we have somebody qualified from the town look at that just in case?
Well, again, when you have the engineer stamp on it, that's like the certification that is correct. And again, under the terms of the lease, that's what was required. It was submitted, it was reviewed by our own departments. And again, this is one of the requirements of the lease. They have to, upgrade them periodically, and they followed the process that they have. So at this point, I don't believe there's any need to have the town engineer, the consulting firm review, because we pay them to do that. So given the circumstances and the fact that it was stamped by a professional engineer, it should be sufficient enough.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Town managers report?
I have three items this evening, and the first is,
Mr. Manager, before you move on,
Mhm.
town manager report is there, but there's no detail.
okay,
I'm not sure why the detail wasn't put on the agenda, but there's no detail.
okay.
So at this time, I'd advise you not to make a report.
Claims, the town council hereby approves or denies the following claims against the town.
So we have 6 claims. Want to do one at a time?
Yes.
This is the Holly claim. The Holly claim was reviewed, and the claims committee went before the town manager, and recommendation was to deny that claim.
That's the DeRosa claim, Mr. President.
I'm sorry, but lovely. So when you click on the Holly,
Yeah, it
the
says
DeRosa
DeRosa.
claim comes up.
DeRosa's not listed.
Is it Holly DeRosa? Hold on one
I
second.
think DeRosa's the name
It
of the
is.
claimant.
Okay.
So it's Holly DeRosa.
Okay.
So the Holly DeRosa case. Guess I got it. Some are last name, some are first name.
So she was denied only because she had one quote?
I hate to ask this again, but you said the committee. Who is the committee? What is this process?
So the process is pretty much changed. It goes before the town manager. He looks at it with the department head and brings it before the council.
So this is the town manager making these recommendations?
Ernie?
No. Basically, what, for 99.9% of the recommendations are accepted from the Department of Public Works or the agency involved. They review them, they look at their data, they look at information of knowledge of the cases, as well as, reports they have about work being done. So they will review it, and based upon that, make the recommendation, and it's accepted, at least from my end, and then it's presented here.
So you do look at them all? Is that what
I
you?
I look
You
at
review
them, I'll give them.
They do the legwork and
Yeah,
you
they,
review.
I do a cursory review, and, a cursory review, but the The review, the research, the detail is provided by Public Works, and so I give a cursory review and generally always go with their recommendations.
So the language of this is,
Yeah, it's
I
confusing.
recommend, this is Fred Gill, I recommend to the Claims Committee that they deny the claim in the amount of $425 of $300 is the max recovery by law. So are we denying the claim because they only gave us one estimate?
That's
Or
what it
are we
looks like.
denying
It's
the
supposed to give-
$425 and awarding $300?
Yeah, I read the same thing.
The language is horrible.
make sense.
I don't understand it. So is he here tonight to explain what he means? I recommend to the Claims Committee that they deny the claim in the amount of $425 of $300 is the max recovery by law. So I don't understand, again.
I would
if we're
move we
den-
table that until we have further
I
clarification.
agree. I'll second that.
This is the Holly DeRosa.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Inzavino, they're recommending that we approve the claim at $227.33. I read the notes, seems to be. So I have a motion to move to approve.
Second.
I make the motion that we approve the claim.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do you have a question on this one?
Yep, go ahead.
There was a pothole on London Turnpike. There's been several potholes on the London Turnpike, and
Tons of
several have come before us. I'm not saying I would like to deny this, but I'm just saying, can we get some more information? Can we get more detail with this, with all of this?
Fred Gill could explain.
So,
Well, the attachments do give some more detail, not a ton, but road conditions were wet, it was rainy, nighttime.
where is it?
Oh, we're on,
I mean, the London Turnpike, I travel the London Turnpike all the time, there's several. And they keep reoccurring based on the weather.
And then there's the big question. So I would think that they determined that it was in West Warwick, because there's a section that's Coventry, a section that's the state, and a section that's West Warwick. So I would think he'd make that determination.
All I'm saying is, we're the ones making the rules.
it says
Yeah, so,
50
You
feet
know,
south.
we're getting this from a piece of
50
paper.
It does have
It says 50 feet south of,
And it has a picture of it too.
yeah. Oops. Does that say a lane for, I'm not sure what that says.
And it has a picture with the two giant cones in it.
Right.
I mean, it's police report, 3 estimates. They did their due diligence here, and I think we shouldn't have to wait too much longer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The next one for Eden Maderas. Pothole on Wakefield Street, notified of the issue, temporary fill, time to resolve permanently in the future. Claimant has 3 quotes. Police report, I recommend that the Claims Committee pay the claim of the amount of $300, which is max recovery by law. Again, it's up there, Wakefield Hills. All right.
Move approval.
Moved, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
So can I ask a question about the first one we tabled, and we should, because I'm not sure what they were asking? If it's only because they did one, can they come back, or is it too late to come back with 2 more quotes?
No,
Because it's the same pothole, my guess is.
Unless it's already been fixed, if they can't come back with the quotes, but if it hasn't been fixed, they obviously can present quotes. But I'm assuming it's already been
Yep.
They
fixed.
might have a
Yep.
preferred person to
Yep.
put it in.
Yeah. Okay.
The next one, Mayorga claim. There was a pothole issue on the London Turnpike. DPW was notified of the issue, and it was temporarily filled on March 5th, the day before claimant stated he had hit the pothole. Daily worksheet attached. So they actually said they filled the pothole. There's no police report taken. Claimant is quoting $2,500 damage, and he recommends deny. Refer to insurance carrier as stated.
And has that been done?
His insurance carrier, I have no idea.
No, town's insurance carrier, because it's over 2,500.
I don't know. He's actually here, I guess.
Yes.
I got the police report.
Just state your name and address.
My name is Marvin Mayorga, 120 Burlingame Road. Actually, that was my teenage son who was driving. And I have the police report, I got the 3 estimates, and it took me only 5 months to get it to you guys. So I don't know what else you want.
So Marion, has this been submitted to the claim, to our insurance?
What's the name?
Mayor,
I'd have to, I wouldn't want to say that, just, I'd have to check it.
I actually had a conversation with you and Paula and Freddie back in March, I think, about it. Or
About-
April,
Then
about
I'm
this
sure
particular one.
that she put it into, if that's what you told her to do, I'm sure Paul.
I didn't tell her to do, I just, yes, yeah. Because the mayor asked me about it at that point in time.
We're instructed to send it to the
Because
trust,
it's
we do. If no one instructs us,
$2,500,
we
it
wouldn't.
needs to, we can't pay that. It has to go to the
Right.
trust.
As
Just
long
the
as
one
that
that
was
hit
what
the
the
bottom
claim
below
said.
the oil pan.
Oh, this is on here.
I remember that.
Yes,
I remember
sep-
that.
yes,
I
and
think
that's
you
back
probably
in
did go to
April,
the-
I believe.
I can't say right this second, I
No,
have to look it up, but I remember
I
that.
would suggest that we send this to the claims,
I
not
think-
the claims, to our insurance, the trust,
I think it must have been, I remember.
and get him an answer, because the most we can give him here
I
tonight.
remember talking to you and I'm gonna talk to
Yeah.
Paula, and
Yes.
Yeah.
like I said, it only took me 5 months to get it to you guys. And a couple of weeks ago, I came over here, talked to Paula, and she says, DPW has it over there. And only took me 45 minutes to get to back and forth.
It has taken a long time, and we apologize for that. That shouldn't happen. But I believe, back in April, I had a conversation in your office with you and Paula and Fred, that it was over the 2,500, we shouldn't even be bothering
Right.
with it, we should push it along to the trust.
I will find out from
Yes.
Paula tomorrow exactly.
Yes,
They'll get in contact.
We'll
Yes.
be in contact.
thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight.
And thank you for being patient.
So you tabling this, or?
No action, they're gonna send it to, not table, they're gonna send it to the, trust.
I think it might be there already, Dave, but I will make sure if it's not, it goes tomorrow. No action. Is that the last one?
Nope.
Okay.
Barrow claim, pothole New London Turnpike, DPW notified, issue is temporary filled, claimant has quotes, a police report, I recommend that we pay $120.
Move payment, move approval.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The next one, Prelude. Prelude. Major pothole on Church Street, DPW was notified, the issue was temporarily filled, and at the time to resolve it, when they resolved it permanently, claimant has 3 quotes, police report, recommend claim.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Go ahead.
Resignation from the West Warwick Sewer Use Appeals Board, resolved that the town council hereby acknowledges the resignation from Janet J. Pacino of West Warwick, of the West Warwick Sewer Use Appeals Board.
Move we take it off the table.
Second.
Moved and seconded to put it on the table, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, now I just need a motion.
Motion to approve the resignation with regret.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion, I did have a conversation with Janice. She's gonna be doing a little more work in East Greenwich, where she just retired from, so she wanted to resign from this board.
And the people in the sewer plant, Jason, talked about how she would be missed.
Yes, yes, it was a lengthy conversation.
So, that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'll still say aye on that because I think she should stay.
All opposed?
Yep.
Resignation from the West Warwick Planning Board, resolved that the town council hereby acknowledges the resignation from Wayne Miller of the West Warwick Planning Board.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion?
Also with regret.
Yeah, Wayne served diligently and, for quite some time.
Wayne's another one, he's been doing a lot of work out of state, so it's been a little difficult for him to get here. So, with that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resignation from the West Warwick Pension Board, resolved that the town council hereby acknowledges the resignation of Fred Gill of the West Warwick Pension Board.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion, none. Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Marion, if we could just make sure we send a letter to all three, thanking them for their service, years of service.
Okay. Appointments, West Warwick Planning Board, resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the West Warwick Planning Board for the town of West Warwick with the term to expire 7/20/24.
I'm gonna move the name of Joshua Barrett, and I'll explain why if I get a second.
I second.
I'll second.
So, the last meeting, we didn't realize Wayne had resigned, and Josh Barrett's been on the planning board as an alternate for a few years now. He's very dedicated. He wished he could have stayed. He did have to leave. He had to be in Boston for 10 o'clock tonight, and I told him I doubt we'll get to him by 10. So, again, he's very vocal. He's an engineer. He knows what he's doing. He's been on the board many years, and so we're gonna move him from the alternate to the permanent spot. And I know that gentleman, Joe, is he here tonight? I know.
Mr. Garcia.
So I actually met with Mr. Garcia
Yeah.
over the last week. He is very interested. I did explain that there'll probably be an alternate position opening up. He regrets.
What's on the next?
Right. He is not able to be here this evening. He did send me a message stating that, but he is very interested.
So we can look at, he's on both applications, but that's the reason why I wanna move Josh as a permanent, as he's done his time.
I just have a question on it. I totally agree. I think he has the qualifications, and being an alternate, that's the next step to move up. However,
He didn't do everything.
is that something where, and this really hasn't come across us yet, is this something where the alternate moves into the position, or the alternate applies for the position? Because it's totally different. If the alternate applies for the position, then I think the
We're
same.
moving, he's already on the board, so we're moving him into the position.
So, the BCI isn't the formal,
It's a.
I'm just
I
asking
know,
a
it's little
question because
different.
I don't want to be caught
He's
on it,
already on
that's
the
all.
existing board, so even if we didn't appoint him, he's still on the board. So we're moving him into the board. If he wasn't on the board, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but he is already on the board.
But we have a resignation and we have an opening. I'm not trying to be difficult, I just want to follow the right procedure, I don't want to be caught with it.
I mean, it's up to you guys, I mean,
He's already on the board as an alternate. He's been serving.
he's been serving for 3 years, 4 years, if not longer. He's on the
More than
board.
qualified.
It's just slotting him into.
It's not about the qualifications, though.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
I
He-
understand
listen,
that,
when-
he's on the board as, all right.
So let me
first-
point this
all right.
out to you. So if he doesn't, if he doesn't have, so Wayne Miller's not there.
Correct.
Josh Barrett is an alternate, would move into Wayne Miller's spot to make the vote, because he is the alternate. So he would vote automatically. So I don't see that being an issue. If he wasn't on the board, I would totally agree with you.
So,
And it's not about the person, again, I think he'd be an excellent fit. It's
So-
about
so
doing it the same way all the time.
and we do on renewal, but it does, so it says, please be kind enough to let me know if any further paperwork or communication is required for this request. So I would recommend that we vote to approve him with the condition that he get his BCI into
He
us.
fills out the necessary
Yes.
paper.
Yep.
We have an application on
Yep.
file, everything.
But approve it.
Because you're right, we
It's a
haven't,
formality.
we haven't had that happen.
We haven't, right,
Right.
but but again, we're setting a precedence if we
And
don't.
he
because it's
certainly
gonna
doesn't
keep
seem
coming
like
up.
he's adverse
Of course
to
he's gonna
doing
do
it.
it.
That's
Of course
correct,
he's
so
No, he's dedicated enough
I
to
would,
do it.
again,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Just, Marion, if you can have him get the proper paperwork in.
I got it right here,
Can
we'll
I-
let him know.
Can I ask, this is the first time it came up, am I wrong with this? No. Are we setting, we set a procedure,
I
how
think,
is
I think,
this-
I think what you're asking is that in every future appointment, if there's a sitting alternate, they should move automatically up. The answer is no, you can't set a precedent like that because you can't tie the hands of this council or any other council going forward. So it's not going to be an automatic pick. It's not
So
like,
somebody steps down, there's an opening position.
Anybody can fill it.
Anybody can fill that
Right.
position.
correct,
So they have to do the process just like anybody,
exactly.
thank you.
Al, do you have a comment on that? I know you're chairman of the pension board.
If he's
To get on as an alternate, he had to go through the application and background check and all of that?
Well, that application process wasn't in place when he got on that board, so that's a good question.
Because like you said, if he's an alternate, he can fill in. So if he's filling in and he's done all that paperwork, yeah.
I know, it's a tough, I know.
But it wasn't in there when he was appointed?
No,
Okay.
no, thank you.
Just to comment on further, with the Technology Committee, what happened there was the council appointed members of the Technology Committee that didn't exist. When the council created the Technology Committee, Councilman Licciardi raised the issue of we couldn't just reappoint them, they had to apply. Of the 5 members, only 1 decided to reapply, and we now have
One member.
1 member, and Paula was putting out whatever kind of advertisement she's supposed to for the others, so starting, at least going back to the Technology Committee, I had proposed just naming the people who had been previously appointed to the non-existent committee. The council decided no, they gotta go through the same process. Colonel Knott did apply, he went through the whole process.
Thank you, Al.
West Warwick Planning Board alternate member. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as an alternate member of the West Warwick Planning Board for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire 7/20/20.
7 when?
2020.
So can we table this, considering there's another application?
Well, one of the things I will say, since Josh just got moved up, it just vacated, so this position has to be advertised 3 times. So that was not done, so this is the first time it's been advertised. It needs to go on 2 more agendas to be advertised. So just. No action. Needs to be advertised 2 more times.
Discussion action, Family Med update.
So listen.
We had contact from the trustee for the Neighbors Legacy Holdings Liquidation Trust, and there's been a proposal regarding a pro rata share for 2017, where thereby agreeing to pay 8 out of the 12 months in taxes that are owed, which is $46,552.57 out of $69,828.85. However, they're asking us to pass and withdraw our claim on the rest of the 2017 and 2018 taxes for their non-occupancy of the building. I was going to go over these numbers with both Sal and Rose to determine that they are correct and then present to the council whether or not the council wants to accept it. But usually dealing with a bankruptcy trustee, you're not going to get dollar for dollar, you're going to get a percentage of same. So right now, they're willing to pay, 2/3 of 2017. However, they do not want to pay on 2018 at all.
And refresh my memory, they weren't there?
They're saying they weren't there, but what happened is they left their machinery behind, all their tangible taxes. Excuse me, the tangible property, I'm sorry. And some of the property that was left behind is now being used by the new tenant.
Sal?
The only other thing I had to add is that they were paying people that were supposed to paying. The new bills have gone out. They haven't made a payment as of today. I checked with Rose. The bills aren't due.
But the
until end
payment
of
won't be
month.
due as of August 15th, correct? 'Cause
Right,
yes.
right. So the bills are out, but they've only been out for 2 weeks.
We've got a period of time when the question is, even though the tangible property was there, the successor business obviously is saying they were not using it, but we believe that they are. So that's where the discrepancy's coming in. So
Do
even
we know
though,
when they started using it?
I want to say, and Rose would probably have this, but I want to say it was within 2 to 3 months after Neighbors Legacy left. Because the equipment there are MRI machines. They're pretty expensive machines.
They're very expensive.
Yes. But right now, they have made that offer for tax year 2017. So if we can get some more information, confirm it with Sal and confirm it with Rose. We can make a formal presentation on 2017 and then still keep fighting on 2018. Is there any other questions?
University Orthopedics, while you're up on deck,
That's the same thing.
same.
Yep.
3, fundraiser for West Warwick, Exeter, West Greenwich Hockey Golf Tournament. Messi, Council Messi.
They asked us to sponsor a T-sign for the event. Amount of $100.
I move that we do that.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
Can I ask you, Marion, and I only looked at this quick and I thought they were both on there. Did Barbara Tabak not bring in her information? Because we were supposed to have one for the Lions Club in the same exact agenda.
We have one for Country Club.
And I didn't email, unfortunately, you told me to do this. I was in town hall.
Tournament.
I was in town hall.
The golf tournament.
It's the same, it's a golf tournament for the Lions Club.
Do you know
This
when
is
it
what I
is,
have.
Jason?
That's it. I
No,
don't
it's
have a
actually-
Lions Club.
Okay.
PG Day, Monday. Well, we can put it on the next agenda and
Yeah, that's fine.
just tell us, go ahead with it.
I mean, I was in town hall and I called Barbara specifically to say, to make sure she brought in the literature, and I doubt that Barbara didn't bring it in, but it's possible,
I
I
haven't
guess.
seen Barbara in a long time.
Yeah,
I know her well.
So, no, I know.
She did, yeah.
No, I know, but it usually wouldn't be like her to not bring it in, but that's
It's
possible.
not like her at all.
Yeah, so. Okay.
Fundraiser for West Warwick Steelers Golf Tournament held this August by Councilman Licciardi.
Yes, same thing as we've done last, this is the third year in a row. The Steelers are having their golf tournament, and they're asking the council if we could sponsor a tee sign.
I would move
So it's
approval of
$100.
Moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Appeals Board, 1 alternate member with a term to expire 10/2021. Board of Tenant Affairs, 1 term to expire 2/2021. Recreation Committee, 1 full member. Pension Board Committee, 1 with a term to expire 11/18/2020, 1 with a term to expire 11/18/2021. West Warwick Planning Board, 1 with a term to expire 7/2024. Technology Committee, 2 with the terms to expire 5/31/2021, 3 with terms to expire 5/31/2022.
So we filled the West Warwick Planning Board for 2024, correct? That should be West Warwick Planning Board 2020.
That'll be on the next agenda. Public comment. Comments will only be addressed to the town council, who will take them under advisement. When addressing the town council, please state your name and address. Please conduct yourself in an orderly and respectful fashion. The comments of citizens assessing this portion of our meeting are neither adopted nor endorsed by this body, but heard as requested.
Alan, Mr. Boucher, well, you guys can discuss it, whoever wants to go first.
Rock, paper, scissors?
He stood up, I knew he was coming up. Chris?
I have 3 concerns.
Just state your name.
Chris Boucher, 44 Brat Lane, Chairman, West Warwick Athletic Committee. First of all, as noted in the email that I had sent you, I wanted to engage in...
Chris, you want to just hit the button? I think nobody can hear you in the back. It's done now.
There we go. Okay, so anyhow, I've been working with the Rhode Island GOP, specifically Sal Caiazzo, who is a great representative. And we were looking at public relations opportunities. And one of the things that we came together on, which is predominantly Sal's idea, is a town hall meeting. And so what the town hall meeting would basically be, it would be a public forum where the citizens of West Warwick would be invited to air any ideas about the future of West Warwick. In fact, I got a working title called The Futures of West Warwick. And what we would do is that we would have local and state GOP representatives come in to have dialogue. And the game plan is to just have some sort of neutral public arena to be able to do this. And I figured that since it is a town hall meeting, Well, what better environment to have such a thing than in a town hall, or specifically our town council chambers here? And so I wanted to see about whatever procedures were required in reserving the town hall on an off night when the chambers are not normally used for this public forum.
That is a good question. Mary Ann?
Well, the charter, and I've talked to you about this, Chris, what
Yes.
we read in the charter is it has to be specific town business. Chris said it was specific to the town, but the charter is very clear on, it has to be specific town business. I did look it up. So now it's just the difference is it, if it's not a board, commission, or town council, does that constitute business that would be able to book the chambers? And that's why I said he would have to come in front of you, because that wouldn't be my decision to make.
Mr. Solicitor?
Would all political parties be invited or just the GOP?
Well, right now, it's a GOP thing.
And it would be a political event, not a government event, so you
Mhm.
wouldn't be able to utilize a government facility. If you invited all, there might be a little bit of a difference.
All
But just
right.
make it, if it's a GOP event, it's a political event, it's not a government event.
All right, very good. I see the reasoning in that, and what I'll do is that I'll bring that to the committee and let them know about that. I'll probably be in communication with you if we want to go forward with a bipartisan town hall
Well,
meeting.
even with a bipartisan, it's still, if it's going to be more political than governmental, the council's going to have to be presented with all of the data beforehand so they can make a decision.
All right, very good.
Chris, are you talking more of like a roundtable discussion?
Yes, it's it's not really a solid thing right now. It's just something that's gelling, and so it's like, so I'm getting ideas from Sal and others, and it's like, okay, yeah, this looks like a good
Like
idea.
somebody throwing a topic out about a town issue or something like that, and then
Yes,
everybody
exactly.
having their say on it, and possibly somebody bringing it to the council and saying, this is what we talked about at our committee, what do you think?
Yes.
Is that more or
Yes,
less, or?
yes, it would be akin to that. We would be taking input from the citizens in that regard. Basically, we're looking for, the West Warwick Berlin Town Committee is specifically looking for, okay, what is important to the citizens of West Warwick? And with that in mind, the idea would be forming policy and campaign topics.
So it's all a political thing, it's not?
Largely, yes. Largely, I wouldn't say entirely. It's a citizens thing and it's a public relations thing, but yes, it is a political action.
All right, so it's, so it's not it's not like a roundtable discussion about throwing issues out about a specific.
Well,
like-
I would say that
like,
if
let's-
there's-
how do we fix the bike path, or, we have lights out.
Yes.
We have crime, all that, it's not about that.
Yes, it is.
So
Yes,
you
it is.
say-
Those are the types of topics that would be discussed.
So if you're inviting the GOP,
Yes.
He's going to say if you want to fix the bike path, elect Republicans.
so public officials, which public officials would you be inviting to this?
It would be representatives from the GOP. However, basically, that's what it would be. It would be a GOP event. However, as noted, I can see the reasoning behind that.
All right.
That if it's going to be a public forum, it should be for everybody.
You said you had two other issues?
Yes, I have a citizen's concern. According to the town charter, miscellaneous provisions, chapter 22, 2201, dual office holding. No paid employees of the town shall be eligible to hold any elective office in the town, nor shall any elected official of the town be eligible for appointments to or for the holding of any position as a paid employees of the town while serving as such elected official, or for 1 year following the expiration of that term which he or she has been elected. For purposes of this section, paid employees of the school department shall be deemed to be employees of the town. And the concern is in regard to Joseph DiMartino. Joseph DiMartino has been serving on the planning board for some time, and apparently his position expires on July 2023. But he has also been elected to the school committee since January 1st of 2019. So we are in, if I'm not reading this correctly, it looks like we are in violation of our town charter by having Mr. DiMartino serve in dual positions, and I believe that both of these are compensated positions as well.
Don, you were on a board, right? I know there's been some situations in the
It's
past.
been addressed in the past, both with two former school committee members. Joe, guy with the oxygen.
Cardozo.
No, not Cardozo, the guy with the oxygen. School committee man.
Joe,
Florio.
Florio.
Oh, yeah, Joe Florio.
Yeah, Joe Florio, James Williamson, and I believe there was one other person that this has happened in the past. I don't know if Angelo was still on the planning board when he got appointed or elected.
He was
All right, but it's been happened in the past, and it was addressed by, I believe, a request to the Attorney General, whereby they found that they're not employees for that purposes of reading the charter, so it's not in violation. But if you want to address it further, I mean, you can.
And I think the key point is whether compensation is indeed paid, and if it is not paid, I think they are in compliance, so I believe it has been addressed as well.
Does the pension board get compensated $25 a meeting, is that, if I remember?
All right, but if you don't accept the compensation.
No, I'm saying,
Right.
do they
Which I
get
believe
compensated?
Mr. Florio,
I don't
Mr.
remember.
Williamson did not choose to accept the compensation. So that was the issue.
And I don't know what Mr. DiMartino is doing, but.
We can look into it.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
You're welcome. And finally, I just wanted to just throw some kudos at Mary Beth Williamson for tabling the town comprehensive plan. This is the first I've heard about that as a citizen. And yeah, that is something that needs to be looked into. It seems to be like, okay, yeah, we're here, we need to vote on this. I don't think that that's a wise way of doing things. I don't even know about it. There was a website mentioned, but there was no address mentioned. And this might be something that might be worthy of posting to the town website.
It is on the town website.
It is on the town
but,
website.
Again, the council,
I didn't know it was on the town website, so I'm guessing that a lot of other people didn't know.
well, you gotta visit it, but you visit the town
How
website
often do you visit the town website?
once a week.
Yeah.
I can tell you where to change a light bulb on there. I can tell you, I'll tell you what. I think it's Chuck Davy who's been updating it. And if you look at the front page, it's a lot easier lately. And a lot of,
There's a lot of information on there.
well, a lot of
every day.
questions, like, a lot of people don't know how to report a light out. Well, that's right there. It's a big light bulb. It says to report a light out. Chuck has made it very simple to go around that page.
All right.
So kudos to him and thank you.
Are we able to look at the comprehensive plan in
Absolutely.
detail?
We will
it's
make
there.
sure that, we will make sure it's available, yes.
If it's not, which he said it was, if not, then we'll make sure it is.
But again, the council was handling this, it was supposed to give to us a week ago, and we walk in here at 6 o'clock to find this.
Again,
Yeah.
a week ago probably wasn't enough time either,
No,
but
you need a lot.
that's all right. It's something that people should be able to review and comment on, I believe, so.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I guess the light's not on. Alan Palazzo, 5 Robin Lane, West Warwick, and I just have a couple of points of order. I was out of town for the past 2 weeks down in Chesapeake, Virginia, and I was amazed at the way that city operates. They have a city hall complex that puts the state to shame. However, the way they do things, my son had to register his dog down there, and the fee was $4. I think we charged $7, and it's done automatically. It was totally painless. But while I was down there, I came across 2 stories regarding West Warwick and how we do business. And I've been a vocal critic for the past 20 years, and I was absolutely appalled at some of the things that I saw on TV and read in the story. And they made me come to the meeting tonight and ask questions. I happen to frequent businesses in town. This morning, I went down to breakfast in Phoenix. The square there used to be wonderful. Now some sections are overgrown. The benches are deteriorating. That's part one. Part two, going there, is the Lippet Mill, okay? which was touted as this wonderful program, everything's going along, and it looks like everything is at all stop. We have events coming up, and to me, that is wide open. That's a target. I grew up in Natick, where the Natick Mill burned down prior to the war, and it lit up the entire town, big time. Stone buildings or brick buildings were melting. I don't want to see something like that happen to one of the oldest mills in the state. It's wide open. What's happening, and what is the council doing to address that issue? That's part one. Part two is yesterday I was driving up New London Avenue, and I saw a crew from Kent County Water along with a police car, and they were sending things out, and there was some water. This morning I happened to read a post by Mr. Oates, who was attempting to report it. Apparently he was getting shuttled back and forth between DPW, Kent County Water Authority. This afternoon I was driving by, the water's still coming out of that side. I believe it's on the Warwick side, but it needs to be addressed so it doesn't turn into a fiasco. I don't know who's responsible, but somebody needs to be.
Is the water flowing? I don't even know.
It's almost in the middle of the road going up the hill. There's water coming out. If you go there tonight on your, take a trip by there, halfway down, maybe 200 feet from the Ledgemont exit going down the hill, you'll see a big wet spot. Something's wrong there. I believe Mr. Oates was told, it's runoff from rain. As I said, I wasn't here, but I don't think you've had a lot of rain over the past 2 weeks. It's a disaster, but things need to be addressed in this town the way we do business. I sat here for those debates on the bins ad infinitum. I was sick of it. And to find out that the ordinance was passed, but the people on the list weren't notified, that's not the way to do business, and that just exemplifies the story that was in the paper over the weekend. We've got to change the way things happen. You have to be open, you have to be transparent. And as a taxpayer, I get very upset when I read that $30,000 was spent on a lawsuit because someone was told, if you don't like our decision, go ahead and sue us. Did you guys approve that? I don't know. I understand there's like 40 cases before, the town, involving the town. Are you aware of that? Who's involved? How much is being spent? It's our money, and I get upset. And I look at other communities. As I said, I was really impressed with Chesapeake. And then I come up here, and the roads look like they were bombed. And it's not just West Warwick, it's the whole state. Gasoline is 50 cents a gallon cheaper down there than it is here. And you people need to do something, seriously. As for the town website, I had intended to be back by the 31st to pay. I had a check written out. I couldn't do it, so I called the town hall, and Sal's already gone. Thanks to Sal, he walked me through what I needed for a PIN number to pay it. However, the sewer bill wasn't on there. I had to call the wastewater treatment plant, speak to someone there. Supposedly there was a link. It was not friendly. But we need to change things. We can't abuse our citizens the way things have happened. I went through a lot regarding the school up on Wakefield Hills. I can't believe what the Reeds went through, where documents are I'm not going to get into it, but documents have been changed. But you need to do business. I'm back. My pen will be coming out, and I will be writing rather profusely. Thank you.
You want me to give you those two for Phoenix? Lippin Mill and...
Yeah, please.
So Phoenix Square, obviously the walkway, the bricks are all coming up. I addressed that last winter. We do have to get some money to fix those bricks. I will tell you, and I've pointed out to the council numerous times, seems like our Parks and Rec don't like using weed whackers. So they'll do all the main grass, but those two corners have never been weed whacked the whole entire year.
Exactly.
And
It's incredible.
I go to breakfast down at Phoenix Square, and Weena and group all ask me questions every time, and I've addressed this with the town manager. Now, as far as Lippert Mills, I gotta see about the security guard, because I noticed he hasn't been there the past week. There's been a security guard on site. They ran into between a death of a partner, which was a backer, passed away, so that backer's done. The backer who was backing felt that he was seeing no money coming his way or whatever, so he stopped backing. He's still backing, like, he's still a partner, but he stopped backing. And Citizens Bank, because of the way the construction loan is working, they had to stop with the construction loan. The town manager and I met with the former attorney, who's no longer the attorney on the case, prior to him leaving as an attorney there. He does a lot of he did the Royal Mills for us here. What's his name? Dorsey. So, as of last week, I had a representative from the state call me directly and ask me if the town is still in support of Lippert Mills being done. I said absolutely, because they're before committee to get more grant money because of the historic stuff and all that. And so they're going before the committee on the state to get more money on that aspect. So hopefully they start that back up. I totally agree with you that it is unsafe. I'm afraid that it will be a disaster if somebody doesn't do anything. Not only that, all that nice, fresh, clean wood that they put the second floor on has now been exposed for a couple of months. And what they're gonna run into as far as if there's any issues with mold, who knows? But again, we as a town have kept a close eye on it. We just don't know where that individual is gonna be within the next month or two.
Okay, the reason for my concern is if you go up farther towards Phoenix, there used to be a mill there that burned down, and the only thing left was that complex on the end. I noticed there's section of it is for sale. I don't know who owns it.
So that's owned by Baldelli Group?
Okay, the other question, I'm glad, that was a great segue for me, Mr. Goslin, because I heard a long time ago, well, several years ago, how that building was transferred to the Baldelli Group. It's something that the town might want to look into. I was told by a former attorney who's no longer with us, he passed along some information, and I think if that was looked at, that would have, that would make the Reed story similar to, or make that look not important. So it's something the town needs to look into. We have to stop the way we have done business for the past 30 years or 40 years. It's got to change. It has to. As I said, I'm old, I have a corporate memory, and I don't back down. So be prepared for, as we say in the Navy, stand by for heavy rolls.
Can I ask a question on, this wouldn't be for you, but Phoenix.
Yep.
I'm Ward 4, I'm far removed from the Phoenix area. Are we talking about where we have the tree lighting, where the bench is? We're supposed to take care of that?
That's our property, we take care of it, we maintain it. We actually removed the brush from the corner where the fuse panel is, so, because it was all overgrown. At that point, there was supposed to be mulch and landscaping put in, that was never done, so what has grown there is nothing but weeds, has not been weed whacked. The memorial on the other corner, on the outside edge, I was actually looking for time myself between this weekend to go down there and take care of it myself, because I've heard it from the business owners.
Well, I'm personally getting just sick and tired of all this. I mean, you know, I'm more concerned with the whole town, but Crompton and Flat Top are my areas. And I've gotten a lot of calls since the beginning of the spring. I know you and I have had several conversations on this. I guess the question is, when people call over and over again, you feel kind of foolish because you don't really know what answer to give them of why things are not being done. There's different reasons you can give. There's things you're being told, but bottom line is the work needs to be done. And the way I personally feel is if people aren't doing the work, then we need to get people that can.
Let me
Because-
just clarify something.
Because this falls on us as, I mean, you don't,
Well,
you
let me
all know.
clarify, I probably misspoke a little bit. Prior to Coventry Credit Union changing their name, that was an adopted spot by Coventry Credit Union. When they changed their name, they stopped taking care of it. So the town had to take it back over.
Okay, so where is the link with that? Because we have several adopt a spots.
Yeah.
So the people who want to adopt a spot, I would assume, I shouldn't assume, but what is the procedures? The procedure, they go to DPW, they speak with the director, they fill out a
I
form.
think it's online too.
They say, I want to adopt this spot, XYZ in this corner. That's up to them to maintain.
They're responsible.
So if it doesn't look good, we can say, all right, this group's maintaining it. But when it's a town that's supposed to maintain it, then
So
What is it?
here's what I want to compare it to. And is Chuck still here, Davey? No. We send Chuck Davey out to all these houses that aren't maintaining lawns and whatever. And then I look at the town and say, well, we ain't maintaining either. So how do we hold people accountable in court when we're not maintaining ourselves? And it gets very aggravating when the bike path looks the way it did. When Parks and Rec, you know, when I've had baseball coaches coaching for over 30 years, never complain and say, why don't you come take a walk down here and take a look at the things that, the infields, the balls of grass on the infield that are where stone is. That stuff's not, it's not getting dragged. Nothing's getting done. You know, I understand we're shorthanded at times, but again, you know, when you're down there cutting grass, and just my opinion, I mean, I've landscaped in my day when I was younger, but you always have somebody to weed whack, somebody to cut, somebody, or there's a process. You weed whack, you cut, you blow it off. Am I wrong, guys? You guys are landscapers back there?
So my point is, though, we keep talking this to death, and it's not something you really want to air out at a council meeting. But this is going on internally. You've tried to talk to people, see what's going on, and bottom line is, the public shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to come up here and say how disgusting the Phoenix Square looks. And we shouldn't have to call anybody to say how disgusting
And the
Phoenix
councilman
Square
shouldn't
looks.
have to go
It
out
should
there and
be,
weed whack
it
it.
should be done, and if it's not being done, there needs to be a reason for it. Whether it's justifiable or not, there needs to be a reason for it. So, Ernie, I'm not asking you to say anything here tonight about that, because,
Again,
You know,
the DPW
it's
director
all over
was
town.
here at the last meeting, and he explained the difficulties of getting work done, primarily because of a lack of workforce. And again, he recounted at times where there's 20-some, 22 positions. In highway, there's 3 in recreation, well, 1 in recreation, 2 from highway go to, laborers go to recreation to do work. And then you have that force, and you subtract people who are out for various reasons. Could be a workers' comp, could be injury, could be people on vacation, people going out on surgery. So when you subtract that, you know, you're left with so many people. And as he explained at the last meeting, at times you may have just 2 crews to go out and do basic things, yard waste or something. So it's a matter of there are many reasons. One of the reasons is lack of staff to do jobs. And at times the town needs to, we as administrators need to try to ensure that employees are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's a variety of things. But when you have, at times, maybe 6 people out of that number available to do work, it is difficult, and you fall behind. And that's where we are.
Ernie, but the Phoenix Square, I can tell you personally, that if I went down there with a push lawnmower, not even a rider,
Right,
a push
I know.
lawnmower, weed whack and blow, I should be out of there in 45 minutes, total.
I
That's
have-
what a push, and he's on a Skag that's doing 10 miles an hour. He can get done with the grass in all of 4 minutes, and then weed whack and blow it off. Or start off with weed whacking, then cut, then blow it off. It's just simple. And the problem I have is, okay, you rush down there, you cut it, then you're rushing somewhere else and cutting it. Weed whacking doesn't get done. I was appalled when I got a call to go down to Ray Silva, when I sent over an email about high grass to the entire council under the bleachers. What did we do? We removed the bleachers. So now the parents have no place to sit, and so we can just cut, and we don't have to weed whack. We're gonna rip down all the bleachers. The steel bleachers, there was nothing, the wooden ones, hey, they rot, you might wanna get rid of them. But the aluminum bleachers, Don, you were there 5-10 years before me.
today, it was terrible.
It's all on the ground. They took it down and laid it on the ground. It did nothing with it. It's appalling. It's disgusting. When you got people coming from Massachusetts, Connecticut to play on tournaments, and you just look at it and you say, and they're stepping, and kids are climbing over it and stepping over it. It's horrible. I don't know what more to say. I know we might be shorthanded, but you know what? I'm tired of dealing with it. We need to just hire temporary help. If that's not the case, we've done this before. We've used Mike Tree Service, we've used private landscapers. We use private landscapers to clean up these houses, and we put liens on the houses. If we're gonna hire private landscapers to go out and clean up our parks, then do it. Put it out there for RFP and do it, because, and have them do the other stuff, but there's so much work out there right now that we're so far behind. And I know this sucks that we have to air it out here, but it is frustrating. And people don't think we're doing anything about it. They don't realize the amount of scolding that you've caught this summer for the way our bike path and everything in our parks are looking.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, Barry. Just state your name for the record, I'm sorry.
Derek Reed, 62 Acres Ave. I deal with it every day. There's not a lot of help out there. But I think the best solution is, and there's companies out there, I'm not looking for work because I don't want it. But I think the simple solution to this would be to outsource all the grass mowing, outsource all the, let a landscaper or whatever, however you want to do it, come in, a property management company, come in, cut the grass, do the cleanups, do the fertilizing, do everything with the turf, everything with the grounds. Let your Parks and Recreation guys do all the infields, the bleachers, the upkeep of the structures, all that stuff. I mean,
It's already being looked into.
I'm just saying, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I did a quick estimate myself of all the square footage of each field in this town. And I know for a fact, with an A+ service, I can save the town about $160,000 of your salary for Parks and Recreation. And that's a first-class job. So I think with the problems with labor and the problems with upkeep, to outsource what you were just saying, David, all the grass mowing, the blowing, the spraying of, herbicides, the mulching, all that, get rid of all that. Put that out. Let your Parks and Recreation and DPW or whoever's involved do the infield. I mean, Natick, I remember how Natick was. Terrible. The infield, there was no infield. Let them concentrate on that stuff and let somebody else take care of mowing grass. There's plenty of people out there want to cut grass. That's just my opinion.
Thank you.
There's just still a process to this. I mean, it is being looked into, Derek, but still, I'd like to find out, we get all the complaints and we say, this is what it looks like, this is the perception. I'm still trying to find out why it's looking like this. Do we not have the equipment? Do we not have the manpower? Do we not have the accountability? Do we not have the right schedule in place? And nobody seems to have an answer as to why, but it just keeps happening.
We attended a ceremony, Jay and I attended a ceremony here at Post 2. People were tripping on the grass because it was so high. It was just.
It was embarrassing.
It was
It was embarrassing. And they look at us, we're on the council, they're looking at us, they're looking at the grass. I mean, and what do you say?
Off to the side where they just beautified early spring, they bragged on how great they made the bike path look next to Post 2. What was it? It was all weed, just growing, nobody cutting anything. So within 6 months, we're back to square one. We gotta clear it all out again. That's, I don't know.
And I know the director, when
He's in a rock and a hard
when I
place.
speak with Dave Picozzi, I understand, when you need 22 men and you only have 8 show up, there's 8 man hours times 14 people per day. It isn't getting
You're
done.
going well beyond what you can talk about, because the last 5 or 10 minutes, I mean, you indicated to the manager, without anything on his manager's report, he shouldn't speak, so.
It's passion talking. Thanks.
Any other public comment? Mr. Oates?
Just a quick follow-up, Tom Oates, Colonial Way, a quick follow-up with Alan. I did reach out today to the DPW. That water coming up out of New London Avenue. New London Avenue is 100% in West Warwick. According to the town maps, New London Avenue, the east curb, golf course side, is Warwick. From the curb across the road, that's all West Warwick. I don't know who maintains it, state, town, what have you. But this morning at 6 a.m., the water was perking up about 2, maybe 3 inches. When I went up, I saw it coming up. I heard people chirping for about 2 weeks about the rust stains coming down and the water's always coming down. But this morning, it was actually perking right out of the ground. That was at 6 a.m. when I went by. I went by again at 9 o'clock on another run. And it was not perking up, but you could see it rolling up out of right at the same spot. And I got out of my car and gave it a jab. It's solid. But what you see coming up on the surface, I'm not an engineer, but I'm guessing that's a fraction of a percent you see coming up. The rest of it is somewhere else.
There's no metal cap there, is there?
No, no. So I went to the garage and they said, oh, that's not us. We got nothing to do with that. That's Kent County Water. So I went to Kent County Water. I'm retired, got nothing better to do.
But again, that's where it should have stopped at you, and we should have been maybe they did, but they should be contacting Kent County Water saying, hey, our road, because once it washes out, and I've seen some water main breaks in here in town.
Thank you.
If that water main breaks on New London, what a disaster that's gonna be, because every house on that street is gonna see a major flood down the bottom.
Now,
About 4
at,
KCW employees there yesterday.
right, now, the young lady at Kent County Water, she had a nice conversation. I got more information out of her than anybody. But she said that they go out with a cup, a chemical business, and they fish the water up as it's coming out and they test it. And they said that's not drinking water in the Kent County Water pipes. She says that's water, that's rainwater runoff. From what rain? I mean, I've been back and forth to Vermont 4 times in the last 2 weeks, but I don't recall that much runoff. The water's coming from somewhere, and you're only seeing a drop of it coming down that street. The rest of it's going somewhere, and it's gonna be a washout.
Water, it's either sewer or, it's
It's,
definitely something.
it's clean water coming out, you know, but there's an issue. And if someone doesn't look at it, start digging to find out what's wrong, and there's a washout there, that's gonna be one hell of a mess. So I just wanted to bring it to the attention, because it seems to be bouncing back and forth, not my job, and wanted to let you folks know.
Randy, can you dig into that?
Thank you.
Dig into that a little more tomorrow? Yes.
No pun intended.
Yeah, well, no, dig into it. Literally put a backhoe in it. Any other public comment?
I actually have one question about the Eagle Scout project. It was supposed to be.
So I spoke to Aaron Hines, the father.
Yeah.
He's supposed to get me a drawing.
Okay.
He has not done so yet, so I
Okay.
will get with him. He works an opposite shift, he works the gun, so I'll try to get in touch with
Okay.
him.
All right. I just
Al?
don't, I'm sure the young man is,
He's eager.
yeah.
I'll eat my Wheaties and grow. Just an FYI, I had this idea been bouncing around in my head. And it fits in with some of the complaints and things I hear tonight, and other than the last meeting. Maybe you got people that are home, don't work or whatever, that you get them to come out and do some of these jobs and that, and maybe they can work an agreement with the town can come up with something. They'll go out and cut the grass in the area, do something, and knock off or something off their taxes, and give them some incentive to, you know, to go out and help the town in that.
For the bike path, we actually have a spot for 4 kids, and I think we only had 2 this year. I mean, not the other spots.
I'm not so much talking about a sponsor, I'm just
Just
talking
saying.
about if somebody wants to go out and do something.
No, I
And
understand.
you're a taxpayer, we just compensate them for a reduction in tax or something along that line.
You'd probably have to worry a little bit about liability, you'd have to look at that, but certainly, yeah, we need somebody to
Again-
adopt the town, is what we need. Yes, that's it.
Got- well, no, I agree with you, but that, all those problems have been addressed in other things before. Liability, there's, Mr. Williamson can tell you, there's forms can be drawn up, things can be get done. And if they're willing to sign for it and do it, I'm just saying you might get somebody to do that. Because as the manager said with the last meeting there, he talked about not the helping out and that and injuries and so forth. Because I remember when I worked, there was always people went out and did all the stuff, and all the equipment was there. And it's kind of sad to hear now that this stuff's not getting done, and, you know, the town should be going forward, not going backwards.
Totally agree.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, great.
Any other further public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. See you guys after Labor Day.
Excuse me, could I get your name? Paula did send a letter to you, so before you go, could I get your name and address to make sure we have the right one? She sent letters to everyone, only one person responded, so I wanna just make sure.